pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. Jews are the main character of the world. They are. Like if you look at history, as a story, the Jews are the main character. Right. I always said that. I still think that. Who does Esau/Edom represent today, and what will happen to them in the end times?
Oh, so that's really easy. So Edom is Christendom. It is the implacable enemy of the Jewish people.
Christianity has all proven itself to not be effective. Christianity is in rapid decline among Europeans in the West. Israel and Zionism has no greater supporters than Christians. America and Europe is headed towards disaster, and this decline happened on the Christian watch. Andrew's trying to salvage this sinking ship, but it's outdated. There's no baby in the bathwater, and you just need to let it die, let it die, let it die, let it die, and we can move on with some actual solutions.
And this has to be utterly destroyed because Christendom is the religion of Rome.
Once we will leave this place, Hashem will bury America.
Christianity to Edom, and that Christianity must be utterly destroyed. And that is how the full force of the Messianic age will arrive. You know what? I'll tell you this, sweetheart. You know, we've done a lot of many shows together. And the truth is, you really blow me away. I don't know this, I think you have a Jewish neshama. I think if you will research your genealogy.
Oh, we've already done this in my family. We've already figured this out. Yeah, my grandfather's side, yeah.
Most Jews are healing from trauma from the Holocaust, or
inflicted by anti-Semitic Christians.
But it is a religion, and any nation that has that religion predominantly is called Asaph. Christianity, of course, ultimately became Western civilization. So Asaph today is really Western civilization, because Western civilization is basically Christian.
Christianity hasn't just been subverted, it is the subversion. It is the subversion. It is the subversion.
People saw the piety and the humbleness of these Jewish people, and they were very interested in it. The Pythagoreans and the Orphics and the Platonists, these people this is the type of religion that we're looking for. And they mixed Jewish culture influences the same way Greeks do to the Romans.
Got a huge guest from over on YouTube. He has been interviewing all the top scholars. He has been dropping all the top documentaries, and he has been exposing the fictional origins and fabricated Hebrew scriptures.
I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. Jews are the main character of the world. They are. Like if you look at history, as a story, the Jews are the main character. Right. I always said that. I still think that.
We're gonna go. He's gonna share with us a great deep dive into why the Torah, the Old Testament, the Tanakh is basically fake. Neil, Gnostic Informant, what's up, man? Thanks for being here again.
Man, I'm excited for this. But I want to make this real quick before you, and I will show you this. My main point for bringing you on and having this conversation is I want people to know I'm not saying this is like some made up fairy tale. I think I even go farther than most critical scholars. I think it all existed. Every single character. I'll say I think there probably was a historical Moses.
Right.
And it might as well, because it's all made up anyway. So
right.
Might as well just call it Abraham. Who cares? It's nonsense. Because I want people to know I'm not saying this is like some made up fairy tale. Well, because it's all made up anyway. So
right.
Might as well just call it. I think it all existed. Every single character.
Christianity hasn't just been subverted, it is the subversion. It is the subversion. It is the subversion.
Christianity to Edom, and that Christianity must be utterly destroyed, and that is how the full force of the Messianic age will arrive. So for the viewers to know, Neil is not an ordinary person. He isn't. He's a very very unique soul. So let's just...
The West is Rome. According to the simple meaning, Europe and America are really one entity. But we know one thing, right? That when it comes to the classic Rome, which is Europe, they're finished.
Okay. Privyet, salut tout le monde, shalom, welcome. So yeah, this is my first video actually in quite a long time, maybe 8 or 9 months. So we're just gonna get into it. I guess I'll tell you guys what's going on. So Adam Green has actually made a response to me. He didn't name me, nothing like that. He just decides he's gonna attack my video. He does, decline debates with me, all this stuff, and instead of, talking to me, reaching out to me, anything like this, something civil, because, I've reached out to him. He brings on this guy, Gnostic Informant, I never heard of this guy until I watched their review on my video that I actually don't really have my video posted. I think I have it posted on Twitter, but I'm not really allowed, and maybe Odyssey, but this video got me in a lot of trouble when I uploaded it. But people have been circulating it. It's gone very viral and stuff. And I mean, this was my first video. It's almost 10 years old. It's 8.5, 9 years old. So, I mean, it's kind of nice. They did a review on it. I can do a review on their review. So let's kind of get into it. But first, I need to know who's this guy, Gnostic Informant. Who is this guy? First things first, let's talk about Alfred Schaefer. So Uncle Alfred got arrested. If you guys don't know who Alfred Schaefer is, I mean, if you watch my channel, you should know who he is. Alfred and Monica Schaefer they're Canadian, they're Germans, raised in Canada, and they both went to jail. The Schaefer siblings went to jail. Monica did about 1 year in German jail, and Alfred did close to 5 years, 4.5 years, I think, 4 years and maybe 8 months or so in total in German prison for Holocaust denial and all that stuff. So he got arrested. I did talk to him yesterday. He sent me a message yesterday. So they did let him out, and he actually, very interesting, because I think we're going to do a stream. Me and Alfred are going to do a stream together. Alfred became one of my during this whole thing, hands down, my best friend, the only guy that I could say that I would collaborate with, and trust the guy completely, and just be like, all right, whatever Alfred says or does, I know that whatever he does, he has the best intentions, his heart is in the right place, and I think he's the only one of all the men that I've kind of got online. I don't know them. Alfred, after I went to jail just for a weekend. They dropped the charges on me after 2 days, and then Alfred gone. And that's actually what's interesting too, is Adam Green. We all got purged off YouTube. All of us who were talking about the Jews, questioning the JQ, all of us were coming to learn the truth of what happened during World War II and Uncle A. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is a Christian battle. It's Christianity versus Judaism. It's Christianity versus liberalism. And then we all get silenced. And Adam Green shows up, off the Alex Jones show. And he's like, oh, Alex Jones, and then Adam Green hijacks the whole movement, and he's neutral to Christianity. He's neutral and so what Adam Green did is he met us where we were at. If you saw early Adam Green, he met us at, he was neutral towards Uncle A, he was neutral towards Christianity, and then all of a sudden, boom, he turned up the heat, did a full 180, anti-Christ, anti-Christian, and Uncle A was a Zionist agent who was a communist, and then he's trying to get us all to hate Uncle A, who literally gave us the blueprints on how we can defeat the bagels, the chosen people, right? So anyways, I think we're going to do a live stream with Uncle Alfred, and we can just talk to him directly. son of Enos. So this is a Canadian creator. Now, I wasn't too familiar with him, but I definitely need to give this guy a shout out, and I'll put links. I think actually the GoFundMe got taken down for him. So he's a Canadian creator, and this guy got taken down for posting a video of a Jewish rabbi calling for the genocide of Europeans and Americans for the Western world. So he got charged with hate crimes because a Jewish rabbi openly talked about exterminating all of us. Okay, think about that. So this guy is, he's, and Canada is not fun. There's a reason why I left Canada. I chose, okay, I said I can go to Canada. If I stay in Canada, I have to go to, I'm going to jail. 2 to 20 years. The hate speech laws are very vague in Canada. And if I stayed there, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm so censored. If I went to jail, nobody would even know. And I said, if I want to keep fighting, I need to get out of Canada now. So I booked it. I got out of Canada. I mean, they cut off my PayPal. Even Western Union, I can't send money. I can accept money with Western Union. I can't send money on Western Union. I can't. So only now, for the first time, can I actually receive money. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But son of Enos, all he did was play their videos. Listen to them speak. He's now in jail for hate speech for what this Jewish rabbi said. It's mind-blowing that there's actually police officers that will do this. That was why I left Canada. I'll be honest. I left Canada. It wasn't because of the Jews. It was because of the Canadians, the Aryan white Canadians who serve the Jews. And I realized like this is a scary situation. Like, you can't, you know, I talked about this in one of my videos where you have police officers raiding farms because they're selling raw milk. You know, raw milk. If you're caught making raw milk and distributing that, you know, our whole country was built on raw milk. They'll send the SWAT team after you. They took down little girls for selling lemonade. They have police that will go after little girls for selling lemonade. There is the police in Canada have lost their minds. Okay. So, anyways, son of Enos. Again, this is, and I don't want to say this is good, but it's necessary. You know, it's necessary for us to see just how evil these people are. So we're going to talk about Adam Green. And this video is going to be about exposing Adam Green and his transgender pederastic gods. And we're going to rip paganism apart. I'm done. Like, the gloves are off now with these pagans. I'm done. Before I was kind of like, you know, they're just a little lost. It's okay. Guys, from now on, you need to start looking at pagans as pedophiles, as child rapists. We're going to go through their mythology. We're going to go through pagan sources and exactly what they believe in. And anyone, like, you might as well just go join the gay pride parades if you're a pagan. Like, stop lying. Don't kid yourself. Pagans are just disgusting, degenerate losers. Okay, that's paganism. And I'm done with them. We're done. It's not about pagan pre-Christian traditions. You can do that. You know, I did, like, for Christmas. I'm in Europe right now. I'm in Eastern Europe. I'm in the Balkans, and I was doing pagan rituals. You know, cutting down oak trees and burning them with my friends. And you know, who was ministering it? The Christian priests. You know, I'm not against people. Like, Christianity is a traditionalist religion. All you're commanded to do in Christianity is love your neighbors and love God. That's it. That's Christianity. Love your neighbors, treat everyone how you want to be treated, do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself, and love your God, have respect for the guy who built the universe. That's Christianity. There are no, you must do this, you must do this, you must do that. It's not like the Torah. It's just don't be, if you were to sum up, the New Testament, it's thou shalt not be a douchebag. That's it. All the Christians did is they sanitized the pagan traditions. They removed all the fertility stuff. They removed all the sexual stuff, the homosexuality, the pederasty, pedophilia. Pagans were hardcore pedophiles, like hardcore pedophiles. It's just what they are. They're pedophiles. When you're looking at the liberal people today, transgenderism, all that stuff. And you can see this is a picture from Adam Green. This is his own picture. I took a screenshot of it, and he's all about pagan revival. And even Thor, who he's depicting himself as, Thor in the Edda had to go transgender to get his hammer back. He had to dress up as Freya to get his hammer back. Adam Green seems to like to dress in drag too. So I guess he's just mimicking his pagan god that he wants to be like. Thor dresses in drag, and we're gonna talk about transgenderism in the Roman Empire, transgenderism in the Greco-Roman world, and how the Bible condemns this. And this is, again, I think what Adam Green and Gnostic Informant are upset about is that the Torah, that the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord your God. So think about that. Okay, the biblical God is against transgenderism. It's against men dressing like women. And Thor, unfortunately, likes to dress, had to dress as a woman. I mean, you want to talk about how messed up Nordic mythology is, and Floki, and bestiality, anyways. So that's, we're going to talk about Adam Green. Then we're going to talk about this guy, Neil Senlak, I think's his name, Gnostic Informant. And he's right there with Adam Green. They shouldn't be friends. We're going to play some videos. And, Neil is very obsessed with the Jewish people, loves the Jewish people, thinks they're the chosen people. He supports the nation of Israel. He is like, him and Adam Green should be enemies, but they're on the same team. And then Neil's friends with a rabbi, really good friends, like to the point where like the rabbi goes to his house. They go to Israel together. They go and study together. Like this Rabbi Tovia Singer is in my opinion, he's a traitor to the United States. If I was the president of the United States and that guy ever stepped foot back on the U.S. soil, I'd have him arrested immediately for high treason. And so this rabbi who calls for our destruction, despises us, wants to see the Western world destroyed, calls us Edom and Essa and all that stuff, is best friends with Neil, best friends with Gnostic Informant, and then Adam Green is best friends with this guy. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And we can see that you got me. I'm the one saying the Jews aren't God's chosen people. The Jews are this. I'm anti-Israel, anti-state of Israel. I'm anti-Jew. Neil's for them. And Adam Green is for Neil and against me. Okay? And this guy is weird. I choose to put pronouns in my bio because I respect people who are trans. And when you understand paganism, this is the religion they're trying to bring you guys back to. They want you to go back and revert to Dionysus worship and Attis, the Attis cult, and Sybil and Zeus, Jupiter. Go back to these gods, Guys, this is sick stuff. These are sick. I'm sorry, when you go to the sources, these are really sick guys. Really sick guys. So let's talk about them. And again, paganism is liberalism. Okay, so that's going to kind of be the theme here. Okay, so we're going to talk about how if you want to be a pagan, guys, earth worship, all this stuff, let's go through it. Okay, so our overview, first it's know your enemies. So one of the biggest problems I have with these guys is trying to figure out what do they believe in. Okay, it's like when you go into a debate with someone, you want to know what your opponent believes in. Adam Green, Gnostic Informant. There's this other guy, Derek Lambert from Myth Vision. This guy, we're gonna talk about him too, because they're all friends together, right? And then they're all being promoted on YouTube. They've got all these scholars with all these like weird books, and they're working together. And again, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So these guys just all hate Christianity. They want to destroy what little is remaining of the Christian West. okay? We're just hanging on by a thread right now, and these guys are just like desperate to destroy it. And what I notice about these guys is they don't like to talk about what they believe in. They want to destroy what you believe in. Okay, so when you go into a debate and your enemy knows what you believe in, but you don't know what your enemy believes in. So if I were to debate Adam Green or Gnostic Informant, which we were supposed to debate, he blocked me on Twitter, and I don't know what he believes in. That was one thing I said to him. I'm like, okay, all right, this is the deal. You tell me in writing what you believe in. I want to know what your beliefs are, because it's not fair. If we go into a debate together, you know my I'm going to be on defense the whole debate. I'm going to be just dodging. He's just going to be able to attack, and attack. If I don't know what he believes in, I can't attack him. And we're going to go over an example. So when you go into a debate, these guys appear to be strong sometimes, and it's because they're always on the offense. Because you don't, what do they believe in? They're very vague about it. So that's what this video is actually going to be about. Not only am I going to defend my video, I'm going to go on the offense, because as far as I can tell from what they're saying, we need to go back to paganism. We need to go back to the Greek gods. And guys, this is just video part 1. This is probably going to be like 3 or 4 videos, because these guys have talked so much nonsense. I have to go through everything that they're saying and give a rebuttal, give a response to it. So forgive me for that, but so this is going to take a long time. So we have to know our enemies. Liberalism is paganism. Pagan sanitization. So just like how we have to go through the Bible translations and see where they made changes, what I'm noticing is the more I'm studying my opponents and going back to the original Greek manuscripts for, say, Plato or Xenophon, guys, the translations you're reading about Plato on the internet right now and Xenophon, they've completely sanitized. What I mean by sanitized is you're not reading the right translations. In the 1900s, there was a huge movement in the Victorian era to hide what the Greek sources actually say, because the Christians wouldn't, pretty much Plato would not have been allowed, like they would have banned Plato. You wouldn't be allowed to sell Plato because of how disgusting the translations, the manuscripts are of Plato and the stuff that they're talking about. And it's right out of the LGBTQ movement, okay? It's really nasty stuff. I'm gonna go over that with you and just give you an example of pagan sanitization. So then we're gonna review the video, and then we're just gonna do one clip. We're gonna do all of it, but just I'm gonna link the video in the description so you guys can watch their whole video. I'm gonna link who they are, all that, everything they didn't do for me, right? Then we're going to talk Torah versus Talmud. That's going to tie into the video review, and how Jesus and the New Testament, they just destroy the Jews, Gnostic Informant, and Adam Green, which I think Gnostic Informant and Adam Green are clearly working for the Jews. I think it's like it's a 100% in my opinion. Okay, this is new for me, guys, and I'm going to be really honest. If you guys do want to see me do more videos, it's really on you guys. I now have Give, Send, Go. You guys can support me there. FTJ Media. There's a merch store. That should be linked in the description. And upcoming books. I'm just waiting for ISBN numbers to come in. So if you want to see me create more content, unfortunately, and I really hate to do this, but I either have to go back to work. I'm not like Adam Green, or I don't know how he's funded, how he's supported, or Gnostic Informant. I don't know who's paying them, and how but they can just sit there and they're just pumping out content after content after. I can't do that, right? I'm running around Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Moldova, Balkans, right? Romania, Serbia. I'm just bouncing around Eastern Europe trying to stay alive and working whatever I can. So if you guys want to see me do this full time and fight these guys full time, then right now I'm like a soldier without bullets, and it's okay if you don't want to be on the front lines, but you can at least send bullets so that the soldiers can keep firing, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you guys can, I'm looking for monthly donations, like doesn't even have to be a lot, guys. Like a buy me a coffee, buy me a beer, something like that. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you guys what the top monthly donator, top monthly donation is. I'm gonna give you this. I made this myself. Well, at least I made the first one, and then I had a couple of these made. This is a necklace. It's a real Third Reich coin. So it represents Jew-free money. This was the secret to National Socialism exploding, and the German economic revival was removing the Jewish bankers and minting coins that were Jew-free, that were free from the international Jewish cartel, banking cartel. So I have this. It should be copper, but I had it plated in silver. Okay, so I don't know. Let's say by the end of September, maybe mid-September, in 1 month, 30 days, whoever sends the highest donation, I'll reach out to you, and I will send you this Third Reich coin necklace with a silver chain too, to thank you for whoever is the top donator. Okay, and I want to also talk about there was a woman. Let's play the clip.
All right, chill. Linda sent $300. Adam Green is de-radicalizing the right away from Christianity, and he is running away from debating at Reuven Matveyev on X, who is bringing people to Christ. I would pay a lot to see a debate between them to keep the movement Christian. Thank you, Nick, for all your sacrifices.
I don't know who the other guy is, but thank you for the big super chat. Why are you telling me? I would pay a lot of money for these two other people to debate. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. I appreciate the big super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. Well, you should tell them. I mean, what do you want me to do about it? I don't think Adam Green's de-radicalizing anybody. I think he's an idiot. And I actually appreciate people like him because he takes idiots out of the fold. He's kind of like a filter. He's like a charcoal packet. He's like removing an undesirable element from the air. So, if you can listen to that numbskull, I mean, he hates Christians more than he has any problem with Jewish power at all. Everything is just a screed about Christians. Clearly, he hates his parents or something. Maybe his parents were Christian. I don't know. But he's just some like seething fedora tipper, some like seething millennial fedora tipping pagan doofus. If you buy into that, if you buy into your Marvel superhero religion, I'm a pagan, Christians suck, but like filtered. Next.
All right. So this lady, what was her name? It was Anna Linda, I think. I don't even know, like, I don't even have words for this, like, to like how I can thank this woman, because this lady sent $300 to the Nick Fuentes show just to give me a shout out and to talk about this rivalry between me and Adam Green. And I mean, Nick Fuentes will say, and I don't know what to make of Nick Fuentes. I'm not trashing Nick Fuentes. I just don't know what to make of him. Just because I've been in this world. I've been in the grinder. Okay, my friends we've been on the run. We've had the media like putting our faces up in the newspaper, telling people where we live. We're getting arrested. We're getting we're getting erased from the internet. It's not just like they erase you. Okay, when Nick Fuentes will say he's the most censored guy on the internet. It's like, well, no, you're on the Candace Owens show. Ben Shapiro talks about you. Tucker Carlson talks about you. You have, your own platform. I'm pretty sure he's a multi-millionaire. I think so. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, the guy's got to have money. I know, like, just from like the small, like the size of donations that I see, and the guy's got money. So I mean, I don't know what to make of him. He's friends with Alex Jones and InfoWars. That's a little weird. I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but real censorship, you don't exist. Okay? You don't have money. You're done. I don't know if it's maybe because he's American, but me and my friends, it hasn't been our experience, okay? So this is the first time where I can actually make money. I don't know, Nick. I mean, he's either the real deal or he's the last layer in their deception, right? I mean, interviews with Kanye West and Donald Trump, and early on, I mean, I don't know, man. I want him to be the real deal. I really, really do. And I mean, I'm not knocking the things he says. The things he says, a lot of it is great. But I don't know, the whole Catholic thing too. I don't know how you can be America first and then want the and then kind of promote the Catholic Church. Like, I think we need to separate from these religious, especially these archaic religious institutions and stuff. We need something new. We need to be grounded in Christianity and Christ. I just don't think reverting back to the Catholic Church is a good idea, because a lot of the problems we're dealing with these pagans has to do with the corruption in the Catholic Church, and we'll talk about that in another video. But anyways, I just want to thank this woman from the bottom of my heart just for throwing $300 just to mention my name. Like, you have no idea what that means to me, because like I have really been censored, and it's really unfortunate. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about it anyways, but okay, so let's just keep going with the video. So we're going to talk about liberalism being paganism. They're the same thing, guys. Don't let these guys fool you for a second. So pederasty, pedophilia, paganism, okay? Grown men seducing young boys and raping girls, okay? Zeus, the pederast and rapist. You know, it's funny. When I was living in Eastern Europe, my neighbors were all Ukrainians, right? And they all spoke Russian and stuff, Moldovans and Ukrainians, and they were, a little mixer, like Russians, Ukrainians, Romanians, Russians, all this stuff. So, but we spoke Russian for the most part, you could be called a lot of names in Russian, but the real bad swear word in Russian, when you really hate another man, you call him, you go pidaras, you yell pederast, pidaras, which means you're a little boy, you're a pedophile that has sex with little boys. And when we go to Greek mythology, it'll depend on the school of Greek mythology you're studying, whether it's like Hesiod, which is more, I guess, plebeian, mainstream Greek mythology, but then you can go to the Orphic traditions, which my opponent, Gnostic Informant, seems to quote the Orphic traditions a lot. And in the Orphic traditions, you're going to have Zeus, and this is, Zeus abducted a young, I think he was a Lydian boy, and it made him his cupbearer and lover. So here you got paintings depicting Zeus, pederasty, loving little boys. And in this picture here, this is Zeus running off with his daughter, Persephone. So what Zeus did is the amazing Zeus. We need to return back to paganism, guys. Return back to good old Jupiter, good old Zeus. Because Zeus killed his father. Then Zeus raped his mother, made his mother his consort, his concubine, impregnated her with Persephone. That's who's in the picture here. So Zeus is now running off with his aunt/daughter, where he's now going to go and rape her. These are the gods of Adam Green and Gnostic Informant. Well, Gnostic Informant doesn't really, I don't know what he believes in, to be honest. But he's pushing you. You got to go back to this stuff. You got to go back to the stuff the Christians destroyed. Go back to Zeus. I'm not kidding, guys. Google Orphic traditions, Google Greek mythology. Orphics weren't a small group. They were the elite. The elites believed in the Orphics, okay? And you're going to find Zeus killed his father, had sex with his mother, had a daughter/aunt, Persephone, and then raped her too. This is the supreme god of the Greeks. This is the religion they want you to go back to. So pederasty. And we're going to talk about this more. We're not done yet. We're going to quote Plato. We're going to go over some sanitization. I'm going to show you guys how the versions of Plato you're reading are not correct. We need to go to the original Greek sources, and we're going to find Plato, Socrates, all these great Greeks who we like, Xenophon. They're pederasts. They're pederasts. They're pidaras. They are this. I don't even know how to read Plato anymore, and know how to read Socrates after what I've discovered after reading the unsanitized, the real manuscripts from the Greeks. Transgenderism. So we're going to talk about this when we get to Neil, get to Gnostic Informant, because he's a really shady guy. So transgenderism, LGBTQ, Bacchus, Attis worship. So when you go back to like Bacchus is Dionysius, okay, it's Roman Greek. We're going to go to the Attis cult, Sibyl, the Galli transgender Greco-Roman priesthood. Okay, so we're going to talk about this, and transgenderism was huge in the Roman Greco-Roman world, okay? And Gnostic Informant talks about this. And again, he's got his pronouns. I respect people who are trans. Well, of course you do, man. You're pushing this transgenderism. Go back to paganism. Let's go back to Dionysius. Let's go back to Bacchus. He says that in this video. He says that in my video review. We need to go back to this, right? And that's what this is. Orgies, transgenderism, mutilation. This is what they're pushing. Liberalism. They might as well just go to gay pride. Why hide it? Say like it's really sick stuff. Okay, sex cult, temple prostitution, worship of Venus and Aphrodite. Now, depending on the source you're going to read, you're gonna get Strabo. I think I've got it. We'll talk about it later. Strabo does mention, like, some people say that it was only in the East where temple prostitution exists. The Bible talks about temple prostitutes, men and women. Strabo, he also talks about temple prostitutes, men and women. And in the East, and I think in Syria and Babylon, they even had traditions where every girl from certain cities had to have sex with a foreigner at least one time in their lives to fulfill a certain pagan fertility. Anyways, so I mean, when you really compare temple prostitution, just this sexual degeneracy, right, where sex is not something that's not holy, it's something that's for sale. We're going to talk about this when Adam Green, a clip from Adam Green. We're gonna. Anyways, this is just setting a foundation. We're gonna keep going. Infanticide, okay, and abortion, Chronos, Saturn, murder of unwanted children. Now, if you study, I don't want to mislead anybody here. If you study Greco-Roman history and you type in, like, did they sacrifice children? No, they did not. They did not, at least not openly, not in any sources that we have. They weren't open child sacrificers. They didn't do that. They do record the Carthaginians, the Canaanites, the northern Israelites in North Africa, sacrificing to Chronos, who they viewed as Chronos. Okay, so they do mention Chronos and child sacrifice, but they themselves didn't practice child sacrifice. But what they did, though, in Greco-Roman culture, the fathers had say over life and death over their children. So while they didn't sacrifice their children ritualistically, they did sacrifice their children for the sake of maybe they believe the child will be weak, the child will be deformed. Actually, we do have a surviving quote. We found a papyrus scroll, and on the papyrus scroll, it says, "If it is a boy, keep it. If it is a girl, expose it." Okay, this is a Roman soldier writing home to his wife to give her instructions of what to do once the baby is born. And so this is, Roman soldier does not want a girl. The girl's going to be, in his eyes, probably like a financial burden. He wants a man. So kill the girl. We don't need her. So generally they're going to take the baby and toss her into a forest or toss her somewhere and just let the elements kill her. And this became rampant, especially towards the end of the Roman Empire, right before the Christians took over. Okay, we're going to talk about that too later, but infanticide was huge in the Roman world. So while they weren't sacrificing their children ritualistically, abortion, like after birth abortion, infanticide was rampant. It was very normal for them to kill their children. So don't think just because we don't have ritualistic sacrifice that they weren't they were still sacrificing their children in the sense of no different than, Planned Parenthood today or something like that. Okay, so earth worship, climate change, Gaia, Mother Earth, sacrifice. So in the modern world, we are being told, they're putting all these taxes, financial burdens on us because of nature and earth worship, and we got to save the planet like we could kill it. The planet, listen, the planet will kill us long before we can kill it. Okay, so, again, all hail Saint Greta and the Earth Mother. Liberalism, save the planet. You want to go back to Greek mythology. You want to go back to, the Greco-Roman pagan world and worship the earth. Like, guys, in the Bible, the earth was created for us. We are its caretaker. Okay, yes, we should respect it, but we don't serve nature. Nature serves us. Okay, that's the difference between the Bible, the God of the Bible, and the pagan gods. So earth worship, all this stuff. Okay, so that's it, guys. Paganism, the gods of Adam Green and Neil Senlak. As far as I know, this is what they're pushing, so therefore this is what they believe in. Pederasty, transgenderism, earth worship, infanticide, child sacrifice. This is what it means to be a pagan. Okay, and we're going to go through this a little bit more. Oy vey. Okay, so again, pagan revival. That's what Adam Green's about. And he wants to go all out. All right, it is liberalism. Call it what it is. And again, Thor, as badass as Thor was, and Thor is Mrs. Doubtfire. He's dude looks like a lady. He had to dress as Freya. He had to go all drag queen to get his hammer back, and that's just I'm done with these. I just want nothing to do. Okay, so Adam Green, the Bolshevik. So let's talk about Adam Green. And I guess the first thing I want to bring up, I want you guys to understand him so I can try to understand him.
Way hates all Jews, and that's definitely not what I believe or how I feel. I've always made it very clear that I don't hate all Jews. I judge everybody as individuals by the content of their character. I do have problems with Zionism and, by extension, all the Abrahamic religions. I think that they're dangerous. I think that they're false. I am very critical of...
Now, I do have a problem with Islam, Judaism, and I have a problem with mainstream Christianity. So and my whole channel's about that. I'm anti-Islam, I'm anti-Judaism, and I'm anti-mainstream Christianity. I just think we need to look at the Bible a little bit closer and go, are we reading this properly? So I don't disagree. This is where for me, Adam Green is a fraud. Let's listen a little bit more.
Of the supremacist aspects of of God's chosen people and he
doesn't like the supremacist aspect. The video where he's literally trashing, I literally made a video called The Not So Chosen People and how the Bible says they're not the chosen people. Okay? And he's attacking me. He's attacking me, the guy who says the Bible says that the Jews are liars. I'm calling the Jews liars. I'm saying that they're not the chosen people. They hijacked this. He's not interested. He's going to attack me because, in a sense, I agree with him. I don't like the supremacist stuff either.
End times, Armageddon, end of the world.
End times, Armageddon. Go through my channel. I don't believe the world is ending. Right? I'm a preterist. Okay. I believe that the Book of Revelation is clearly about the destruction of Jerusalem, and that both Tacitus, Josephus, Jesus himself, Daniel chapter 12, the end of days could have only happened in the first century. And I have entire videos on this proving all that stuff. So I don't believe the Jews are God's chosen people. I don't believe that the world is ending. 2 points.
Type of views, and I've dug deep, done a lot of videos in how they use the anti-Semitism term as a weapon to silence their opposition, and the whole dynamics of almost how it's the religion of Jewish people, in my view, to be persecuted.
Yeah,
way,
and that's true, right? They like, and again, my first channel name was Jews for Hitler. Jews for Hitler. That was the one that went viral, that got censored and banned. Then I came back as Gott mit uns, and now I'm just kind of using, you know, my name, Reuven Matveev. But so you've got me. I'm anti-Jewish supremacy. I'm anti-mainstream Christianity, and I don't believe that the world's ending. And these are his problems with Christianity, and I debunk all those in my videos. Okay, I'm his enemy. See, I don't agree with these things. Here's a guy, a Christian, who actually debunks all those things, all those problems you have with Christianity. This guy debunks them, and his attitude is ignore the guy, slander the guy. And now I'm going to make a video with my Jew-loving pro-Israel friend, right? Let's actually watch that really quick about the guy he brings on. Let's bring on, where is it? Let's see if I have it.
It's translated by the Ptolemies, and
I expect to see you in synagogue this Shabbat. I'm just telling you. If you don't show up, I'm coming after you. I know where you live. I will come. I will send Jew boys right after you.
I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. I told you this. I said Jews.
I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. This is Adam Green's. This is the guy. So I make a video called "The Not So Chosen People," trying to debunk the Jewish claim that they're God's chosen people. Okay. Adam Green's solution is, I'm going to bring this guy who believes the Jews are
character of the world. They are. Like,
the Jews are the main characters of the world.
If you look at history as a story, the Jews are the main character. Right. I always said that. I still think that. I'm not so like when we talk about text, we're talking about text. We're not talking about people.
This guy stated, I support Israel. I love the Jewish people. The Jews are the main characters in history. They're the main characters. This is the guy Adam Green brings on to debunk me, who says the Jews are liars. The Jews are not God's chosen people. The world's not. So this is his friend. His friend is a guy he's friends with a rabbi who calls for our destruction, calls for the destruction of our home. This fucking rabbi, this piece of garbage, you know, comes, he grew up in America during the most prosperous time in world history, in the protection of America, you know, and this rabbi's, now it's like all their energy went to building up Israel, building up the Jews, sabotaging us, destroying our country, everything. This piece of garbage lived amongst us, and his whole ministry, his entire rabbinic Jewish life is about destroying the culture and religion of the people who protected him, blessed him, gave him this home. And this guy, Gnostic Informant, is best friends with this guy, calls for our destruction. Adam Green is good friends with Gnostic Informant. Like, does any of this make sense to you guys? I mean, it does to me. But for me, Adam Green and this guy shouldn't even be friends. They shouldn't even be talking. Okay? I don't even know what to say. All right, so let's look at another Adam Green video.
Christianity has all proven itself to not be effective. Christianity is in rapid decline among Europeans in the West. Probably because it's so unbelievable, it's so historically unreliable, and it's so obviously mythological that people just don't believe it anymore. And if they don't believe it, they won't adhere to it, it won't work, and it won't be an effective solution. Israel and Zionism has no greater supporters than Christians. America and Europe is headed towards disaster, and this decline happened on the Christian watch. Andrew's trying to salvage this sinking ship, but it's outdated. There's no baby in the bathwater, and you just need to let it die, and we can move on with some actual solutions and visions that aren't rooted in ancient superstitions and in Hebrew myths. Christianity has also led us to Zionism. The fruits in Christian morality led to liberalism. A lot of former Christians end up being the most liberal and progressive people. The reason that we don't have a right...
Christianity, he's blaming Christianity, Christian morality for liberalism, for all that pagan stuff he's trying to bring in, all that pagan stuff. It's the Christians' fault. The Christians who destroyed all that stuff. See, it's our fault. Our Christian morality gave birth to you. I think what he's actually saying is you Christians were too nice, that the moment you saw liberalism and paganism rising up, we should have been militant, violent, and just killed it, and killed every single person who tried to bring it back. I think that's what he's saying. I think that it was our good nature and our level of tolerance, tolerating their views and going, okay, well, what's your problem? Oh, well, I'm a homosexual. And, so what do you want? Well, I want to have big parades, just all out debauchery. I want to throw my, my private parts out, and I want to, bring children and sexualize young children. And I want to, this is what, you're homosexual? And it leads to all that. We should have killed that guy. I think that's what Adam Green's getting at. Do you think so? I don't know. He's like, Christian morality gave birth to liberalism. When we're opposed to all that, I don't know what his logic is here.
That seculars, because it's so dominated by the right, they block out any non-religious right-wing. Just imagine how much better we could do having arguments against the radical left, arguments that are based in reality, not in the Bible. Christianity hasn't just been subverted, it is the subversion. And you're going to argue about we can't have morals, we can't have a society that's completely degrading. I could show you how the God of the Bible is not moral. I can show you all of the teachings that could be detrimental, that have been detrimental. I'll end here. Oh, you're also going to say, what are you going to replace it with? That's what I always hear from you guys. What are you going to replace it with? But you don't need to replace a lie to prove it's a lie. You don't need to provide, I don't need to provide you with a magical cure to acknowledge that your diagnosis and your treatment isn't working and it's not the solution. It's destined to fail. Why would I have to give you more myths to replace the old myths? We would be better off just transcending past the age of superstitious mythologies, deal in reality.
No, let me ask.
All right. So, all right, so let's take a look. Okay, so pretty much what Adam Green is getting at is we must destroy Christianity and civilization first, and then we will think of something better. Nothing is stopping this guy from presenting his grand plan, which, as far as I know, his plan is we need to go become pagans. Okay, we need to go back to Dionysius worship, Zeus worship, Jupiter worship, Thor worship, maybe Floki, get some bestiality going. We got to believe in that, we live in the body of a giant, and that the clouds are giant brains, and like I don't know, oh man. So I guess that's his solution, paganism. But nothing is stopping him from writing the Adam Green Manifesto on how we need to get out of the situation. All Adam Green is saying is we need to burn down Christianity, burn down civilization, commit cultural suicide with what little we have left that's keeping us moral, okay? And then we'll think of something after. Burn it down now, we'll think of something later. Okay, it's insanity, absolute insanity. Okay, Christianity's in rapid decline, and the more it declines, the worse things become. Therefore, Christianity's to blame. Can you think of how crazy that is? He's blaming declining. The more Christianity falls, the worse things become. And his solution is let's destroy it faster, because the more it declines, the worse things become. Therefore, am I the only one not understanding what he's saying? Am I the only one who thinks this is absolute insanity? It's like saying, if I were to, okay, let's think of an analogy here. Let's think of what could we compare it to. Okay, let's look at it like this. A ship crashes, okay? It crashes into, I don't know, the dock, the harbor, some big ship crashes somewhere. And then they go and investigate the ship. Why did the ship crash? And they blame the captain. They're like, it's the captain's fault. Oh, okay, well, where's the captain? Oh, well, we threw him overboard about a month ago. So wait, the ship crashed because the captain's not here, but you guys, so the captain didn't crash the ship, you guys threw the captain overboard, but it's the guy you threw overboard's fault that it crashed. That's what Adam Green is saying, okay? Christianity is the problem. The more the problem goes away, the worse things become. I don't know. Man, smart guy. Okay, so he says that Christianity birthed Zionism. That's not true. Zionism was born from British imperialism and secular enlightenment. Okay, not the Bible. Did Christians help? Yeah, Christians helped. Mainstream Christianity is definitely to blame. Okay, but not the Bible. The Bible stands on its own. What Christians say the Bible says isn't what the Bible says. I'm not denying that they use the Bible to trick Christians to help them, but that's what my channel's about. My channel's about exposing all that. Okay, and the first people to recognize the state of Israel, Soviet Union, the most liberal, anti-Christian. That's what I mean. He's a Bolshevik. His solution is the same as the Bolsheviks. Let's burn down Christianity, burn down civilization, and then we'll think of something, which is going to lead to the deaths of tens and tens of millions of people. This guy is dangerous, okay? Man, special guy. Christian morality and the Bible outlaw liberal, okay? Liberal practices, liberal pagan practices, and yet, okay, gave birth to them at the same schizophrenic time. Think of his logic. If we were a Christian society, the whole LGBT movement wouldn't just be gone. These people would be in jail. Okay, you'd be prosecuted for behaving like this. Okay, so he's blaming us because we've been castrated. The captain has been thrown overboard and can't tell the crew what to do anymore because they threw the captain. They threw God overboard. But it's his fault now. You know, that's what I'm hearing. So Christianity is the enemy of, okay? And yet it's the problem. See, this is his overall message, okay? Oy vey. This is why Adam Green wants to destroy it. Because, guys, in my opinion, he's a liberal. He's pushing the Jewish liberal agenda. He's a pagan. Revert back to paganism. Okay, let's go back to Zeus worship. Let's do it. Okay, pagan revival. That's all he's about. That's his photo, guys. He wants the pagan revival. So now we're talking about Gnostic Informant. And again, he's friends with this rabbi. I just can't. It makes no sense how. And look at this thread, you know. Look at this. Do you see this image here? Do you see this? When I first watched Gnostic Informant trash me, and again, he didn't mention me, he just attacked my video. And then insulted me a whole bunch of times, pretty much just calling me an idiot and all this stuff. You know, as if I'm stupid, as if I can't defend my views, which I'm about to now, okay? Look at this thumbnail. At first I'm like, oh, okay, this Gnostic Informant guy, something's wrong with him. He's friends with Adam Green, and I don't know. Then I got to watch some of his videos. I go to his channel, this is the first video I watch. Why did I watch this? Because I'm like, oh, wow, look at the thumbnail. What's your impression when you go to that thumbnail? He's angry at this, and I hate this rabbi. I despise this rabbi. This rabbi should be in jail or a labor camp. If he ever steps foot on U.S. soil, that rabbi should be in jail. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I got Gnostic Informant wrong. I'm looking at that thumbnail. I'm like, I got to give this guy a chance. You know what? He looks angry at this rabbi who I am equally angry at. I click on it, and it's I want you to understand something about that thumbnail. Gnostic Informant never does that in the whole video. I was waiting for that. Gnostic Informant took a picture of himself posing like that, all angry, cropped himself in, because that is the most deceptive thumbnail. Because when you go and watch the video, which is censored now, it's members only. Luckily, I downloaded it before he did that, and he also cut out the Jew part. If you watch it now on YouTube, he cut out the whole section where he's like, I support Israel, I love the Jewish people, they're the main characters in history, they're the stars. He cut that out. Okay, I didn't even know you could do that in YouTube. You could snip out sections of your video. So he snipped that out, then he made it members only, and look at that thumbnail. The whole video is them praising each other, as you saw from the intro video. So I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? The guy actually posed for the thumbnail, because that never happens. They're best friends. They study together. They go to Israel together. This is Adam Green's friend. I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. So let's get to know Gnostic Informant a little bit more, okay? Let's figure this guy out, okay? Let's look at an intro with him.
Talk, yeah, and have a,
I think it's cool.
Not even a debate, but a nice discussion back and forth on interpretations.
I think that's a better way to do things.
100%.
The whole like Jay Dyer Ortho Bro debate scene is all about who can make the other person look dumb and like gotchas and like it's all sophistry.
Yeah.
I think when people sit down with two opposing ideas, sit down and just talk and just hash everything out without trying to get the other person, the audience learns more and it's more productive.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I want. That's what I think people should be doing.
I agree, man.
Wow, it's very noble of him, and I couldn't agree more with him that when two people have two opposing views, and they're captivating the audience, and they should maybe sit down, agree to, they don't agree, but let's sit down and have a discussion. Let's have not necessarily a debate, which is exactly what I said to Adam Green. Look, man, I don't really want to debate you. I just like to have a discussion with you. It's the same thing I said to Adam Green. And Adam Green responded by blocking me. Gnostic Informant 2 also blocked me. So what happens here is what's happening in this discussion is Gnostic Informant caught Wesley Huff on I don't want to say a lie that Wesley Huff said, but Wesley Huff made, I guess it made an assumption that was wrong, and it had to do with the Gospel of Mark and why are the most complete Bible manuscripts we have, why are they missing the last verses in Mark? And Wes Huff made a comment about something about the endings of the book, that there's room for them to write it. And anyways, the point is, Gnostic Informant was right. Wes Huff was assuming something, or I'm not sure why Wes Huff gave that kind of answer, but Gnostic Informant called him out on it, and he was right. And that's what they're talking about. And then it's very important that he's like, I don't like the whole debate scene, the whole Jay Dyer Ortho Bro debate scene. I don't like that. I think the audience, learns more if two guys come together. Did he do that with me? Did he reach out to me and say, hey man, I don't agree with your views. Let's have a discussion and let's just see. I want to know how you came up with your crazy views because I just don't agree with them. Did he do that? No. He goes on the Adam Green show and starts trashing me, trashing my video. It's nothing but gotchas. That's it. That's all. But here, it's like, I don't like that scene. Why doesn't he like that scene? Let's play a video. Let's play a video of Jay Dyer. Let's talk about the Ortho Bro debate scene where Gnostic Informant and his friend,
agree that it exists.
Derek Lambert from Myth Visions, make a terrible mistake. And that is, they reveal what they believe in. Okay, Jay Dyer and his partner, I don't know his name on the left, the guy at the top, the guy opposite of Gnostic Informant. This guy just destroyed Derek Lambert. And the reason is, oops, gotcha. Derek Lambert reveals what his beliefs are. I guess he's an atheist of some kind. Believes in the theory of evolution. And once the Jay Dyer and this guy got hold of that, it's just destruction. Okay? And like I said, these guys get their strength from, they don't really know what they believe in. They don't know what they believe in, but what they do know is what you believe in is wrong and stupid, and I'm going to destroy your beliefs, but I don't really want to talk about what I believe in. That is the safest place you could be. What is the art of war? The art of war says that to know yourself and to know your enemy, you're guaranteed, you will be victorious no matter what you do. Because if you know yourself, you know your enemy, you're going to know whether you could defeat him. Okay, therefore you can attack him and win, or you're going to know him and yourself and I can't beat him, and you're going to not fight him. You're going to walk away, which is also a victory. You didn't lose, you didn't win, but it's in a sense a victory. But if you only know yourself but you don't know your opponent, the art of war says, well, you got a 50-50 chance, and vice versa. You need to know both sides. You need to know who you are, what you believe in, and you need to know your opponents, okay? And when you're going against these guys, Their strength lies in you. It's not possible for you to know your opponent because you don't know what they believe in. All you know is they're going to come after you and attack you. And you're going to spend the whole debate on the defense, and you're going to be trying to dodge everything they're shooting at you, right? And you're never going to have the ability to shoot back because you have nothing to shoot back at because they haven't told you what they believe in. Here, Derek Lambert made a mistake. Jay Dyer now knows what he believes in, and they rip the guy apart. And Gnostic Informant just stays silent the whole time. He might come in a couple times to try to defend Derek and be like, oh, well, you guys are philosophers. You guys know this stuff. And we're not used to fighting in debates and battles that we can't win. Right? So now, when the battlefield's even, it's a slaughter. It's a slaughter, right? So let's watch. This is why Gnostic Informant doesn't like the Jay Dyer Ortho-Bro debate scenes. Because when he's in them, he gets slaughtered. That's why, oh no, I'd rather have a discussion, but when he was with Adam Green, when you watch their video on me, it's nothing but the Jay Dyer Ortho-Bro. All he does is gotcha, 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 attack, attack, attack. I'm an idiot.
The philosophy.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to be defensive. This is like
no, I mean, but like you guys are asking tons of questions I don't know the answer to, but you're making it sound like a gotcha, and I'm like, I don't.
Does the law of identity exist?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I'm saying
so if you're going to make arguments against Christianity, you might want to know.
You guys are coming at it from philosophy, right? And I'm saying there's a handful of other philosophers that I could pull in from a skeptical point of view.
Okay, so I'm going to put the whole debate up, and you could watch it. It's a slaughter, though. Jay Dyer just destroys him, and Gnostic Informant just sits in the corner pretty much the whole time watching, okay? And that's why he doesn't like the whole Jay Dyer Ortho-Bro debate scenes, because him and his friend got destroyed, okay? So, anyways, let's go back. Let's just get to know this guy a little bit better. So we're going to go to another clip of him. We're going to talk about the invented Yeshua Maccabeus. We're going to talk about just how disgusting, just how disgusting their tactics are. They're just so two-faced. This guy is just so two-faced. Let's go through it. Let's watch the video of what's he going to do. He's going to invent a guy from history. He's either going to get a guy wrong, either invent a guy. I think what he's doing is he's confused the name, and we'll watch what's going on. But let's just look at the hypocrisy. I want to point out the hypocrisy and their double standards here. Okay.
But remember, you and I were talking about this not too long ago. How during the Maccabee period in the 150s BC, there was a struggle between the Hellenists and the traditionalists, and there is a history going back all the way to the 150s BC up until Paul's time of Greek-speaking Jews that want to take the whole movement into a more universalistic world. Instead of the temple, they want it to be like international. That's been a movement in Judaism going back all to the Maccabees. Then his name was Jesus. He changed his name to Jason to sound more Greek. It's Jason Maccabees, which is his real birth name was Jesus Yeshua Maccabeus. So that Paul, the whole Paul thing, was a movement that was already going on for centuries. You know what I mean? The idea of people like Paul, I should say, going around trying to sell Judaism to the masses.
All right. Okay. So, oh man. So number one, there's no such thing as Yeshua Maccabeus. He said that his birth name was Yeshua Maccabeus. There was no one even named Maccabee or Maccabeus. Maccabee became a title for Judah Maccabee, which that's not his name. That's not their names. The guy's name he's talking about is Yeshua ben Onias. Okay, and there's no Yeshua Maccabeus. He's mixing up a character from history. But the first thing I want to point out about this guy is he rejects, they both reject the idea that the Apostle Paul lived. So the Apostle Paul, we've got the authentic epistles of Paul. And we're going to talk about this in the next video because there's so much nonsense that they don't believe Paul exists. Now notice what they did here. They quoted this Yeshua Maccabeus, not a real guy in history. There's Google Yeshua Maccabeus. No one's going to come up. And I mean, I guess he's quoting it in Hebrew, and Maccabeus would be Greek, Yeshua would be Hebrew. He's kind of mixing the two, and then he mentions this guy, and there's very little in history about Yeshua ben Onias, Jason, son of Onias. Very little about this guy. It's only in Josephus and only in the book of Maccabees, really. That's it. These are your only two sources, Bible and Josephus. Notice how him and Adam Green are not only are they lying to you, there was never a guy in history, there was Jason Maccabeus, Yeshua ben Onias, this guy never tried to Judaize the world. Never. He tried to Hellenize the Jewish world. He wanted to worship the Greek gods. He was bringing gymnasiums in. He was registering his citizens as Antiochians. He was making sacrifices to Hercules. He wanted the Jews to be Greek. He didn't want the Greeks to be Jews. So he's inverting history. He's invented a character. Let's just say he made a mistake. Okay, he's actually, there's no such thing as Yeshua Maccabeus. That's an invented name. He's talking about Jason ben Onias, Yeshua ben Onias, who didn't try to Judaize the world. He despised Judaism. He wanted nothing to do with Judaism. He wanted to abolish the laws of Moses and bring in Hellenism. Now, understand what they're doing here. They're trying to say Paul, who we've got a lot of history, Clement of Rome, Polycarp, you've got guys immediately after Paul that lived in the first century who are writing about Paul. You've got Paul's letters, okay? And so Paul is an invented guy in history. But this guy, Yeshua Maccabeus, who is an invented guy that they just invented, but Jason Maccabee, who there's very little sources on. Jason Maccabee never wrote any books. No one has people commenting on, contemporaries born right after. Josephus is first century. Josephus is 200 years after Jason ben Onias lived. Okay? And then we only have the book of Maccabees. Those are our historical references. Just notice how the double standard. Notice the double standard. Adam Green didn't call him out and say, well, what sources do you? There's no, he's an invented guy in history. Paul's invented, even though we've got all these sources to prove Paul existed. If Paul isn't real, nobody's real. Okay? That's how there's more history to back up Paul than anyone else in history. Okay? But I'm just saying the double standard here. Because this guy, Jason ben Onias, Yeshua Maccabeus, is going to be used. See, guys, there was already a Jewish plot to make the world Judaized. No, there wasn't. Jason tried to Hellenize and get rid of the Torah and make all the Jews Greek. That's what started the Maccabean revolt. It's a blatant lie. Not only did he get the guy's name wrong, it's a blatant lie. And why does it matter to this guy in Adam Green? Isn't Judaizing the Greeks, isn't removing paganism good? Watch the double standard here. Let's watch him talk to his rabbi friend.
Well, something interesting happens with the history of the Jewish people that is impacting the world. I just want to say this real quick. So, first wave of Judaizing the Greek world happens, obviously, after Alexander the Great, and the Septuagint gets produced, and all of a sudden the Greeks can read it, and they're very interested in it. You have Jews in Alexandria who are Greek, and they're reading the Septuagint. But then another event happens in 192 BCE. You have Antiochus III. 2 million Jewish people were relocated to the Greek world, to Europe, Asia Minor. And what happened as a result of that? Did they all become Greek worshippers of Dionysus and start having orgies and do all that? No, it was the other way around. People saw the piety and the humbleness of these Jewish people, and they were very interested in it. The Pythagoreans and the Orphics and the Platonists, these people this is the type of religion that we're looking for. And they mixed, and you get this sort of, and so Jewish culture influences the same way Greeks do to the Romans. It goes the other. It's very fascinating.
Wow. Did you guys catch that? wow, so these Jews, 2 million, 6 million Jews, went out into the Greek world. And the Greeks were like, wow, Judaism's the best. It's amazing. Forget paganism. So he did a couple things there. He revealed what paganism is. He knows that paganism is all tied to orgies and Dionysius and Bacchus worship and transgenders and the cult of Attis. He knows what paganism is. And he's now talking about how good Judaism was so good for the pagan world. When the Greeks saw this, they were just like, oh my God, this is the religion we've been searching for. But with Adam Green, it's like, did you know there was already a movement with Yeshua Maccabeus to turn all the pagans, into Jews? No, Jason Benonias tried to Hellenize. Let's go through that right now. So notice the double speech. When he's with Adam Green, they're accusing Paul. He's trying to turn the Gentile world, the pagan world, Jooish, evil Paul. Even though when he's talking to his rabbi, it's a good thing. Isn't that amazing that the Jews influenced the Greeks and made them more pious and made them more holy? This is the religious we're looking for, right?
Want it?
Well, something interesting happened.
It's amazing. Really amazing. This is Adam Green's friend. So when he's with Adam Green, the Jews are trying to take over the pagan world. That's what Christianity's for. When he's with the Jewish guy, with the rabbi Tovia Singer, oy vey, when he's with this guy, let me tell you guys, it's a different story. It's a good thing, Judaism. It really saved the world, So let's go to the sources. Yeshua Maccabeus invented Maccabee. So Jason, okay, so this is Jason, was the first that brought in the Grecian way of living among us and set up a place of exercise. Okay, so this is Josephus we're quoting, at Jerusalem. And the gymnasiums are also, right, and the youth had trained up in the fashion of the Greeks. Gymnasiums are also, the Greeks would wrestle naked. Homosexuality was rampant in the Greek world. We're going to talk about that next. So this is also, like, imagine, you're all sweaty, naked, and you're wrestling naked with other men, right? It's really creepy, especially like when you guys know Greek culture, like when you know what was going on back then. We're going to talk about that later. So here we now have the Bible confirming what Josephus is writing. So let's see here. So he's going to build a gymnasium right under the citadel. Okay, so there was such an extreme of Hellenization and an increase in the adoption of foreign ways because of suppressing the wickedness of Jason, who was ungodly and no high priest. Okay, the priests were no longer intent upon their service at the altar, despising the sanctuary and neglecting the sacrifices. They hastened to take part in unlawful proceedings and in the wrestling arena after the call to the discus. Now, let's keep going. Okay. So now what's going to happen is games are going to be held, and we're talking about Syria and Greece, the Seleucid Empire. This is where the Antiochus or the Antiochus, this is where they're ruling from. And so Jason now, the vile Jason sent envoys chosen as being Antiochian citizens, okay, from Jerusalem. So he's registering his people as Antiochians. And they carried 300 silver drachmas to sacrifice to who? To Hercules. Okay, so they're making sacrifices now to, in Tyre, Melkart, Hercules was worshipped there. And now the guy who's trying to turn the whole world Jewish with his Christian trick, he's going to worship Hercules. Is that what Paul did? Did Paul say, we got to worship Hercules? No, Paul said stop worshiping Hercules. The opposite of what Paul was doing is what Jason was doing. But Adam Green and this guy are going to... Yeshua Maccabeus, there was already this plot to Judaize the world. And why would it matter to them? Isn't that a good thing? Did you not just finish telling that to your rabbi friend, that it was a good thing? They were no longer being degenerate pagans? He knows. That's why this guy is two-faced, okay? Man, unbelievable. So now we're going to play another clip. Let's really try to understand this guy, Gnostic Informant. So we're going to watch what he does here. This is it just gets worse with this guy. So let's talk about the Hilaria. So we're going to get him to explain. If you guys know the movie Zeitgeist, well, I'll get him to explain it, and then I'll comment on it. So let's go.
I mean, I remember there's a documentary called Zeitgeist. Ever heard of that?
No.
It's this documentary that these people put together where they try to make this claim, and I believed it at the time when I saw this. This is how uneducated I was at the time when I first saw this documentary, that Jesus is just like a copy of Attis, of Mithras, of Dionysus. It's not true. At the time,
I never heard this before.
Yeah, that's it right there. It was it blew up. It was, what is it, 2007 when that came out?
Oh, it was a series.
Yeah, there was 3 of them. But the first part of that documentary was about religion. And it went through this like completely off. It was not sound academically. Like, this guy was just like basically saying all the gods are the same. They all had 12 disciples. They were all born on December 25th. They all were crucified, which is not true. But the reason why I even brought that up in this discussion is because this, for some reason, took over on the internet. And you see people posting memes about this stuff. Even to this day, during Christmas time, you'll see the memes where it says, Mithras had 12 disciples. Dionysus, born on December 25th.
Everyone likes to simplify it these days.
So, but it poisoned the discourse a little bit. So when I get into like James Frazier, and when I actually do bring up actual examples, for example, let me just give you one, just on a quick detour and come back to this.
Do whatever.
Okay, so it's very important that he brings up Zeitgeist, because Zeitgeist was a total flop. The guy who made it, Peter Joseph, will go down in history as one of the biggest LARPers, the biggest liars in history, because of how how poor the research was in his documentary. He took a woman, I think her name was Acharya S., took her book, which was based on her imagination, and made this whole section of his documentary based on her imagination. And now it took a little bit of, it's like what Mark Twain said, is the truth will get halfway around the world a lie will get halfway around the world while the truth is putting its shoes on. And that's what's going to happen to Gnostic Informant. Gnostic Informant, the reason he's bringing Zeitgeist up right now is because he's about to do Zeitgeist 2.0. He's about to do the exact same thing as Zeitgeist. He's going to make all these claims that Christians stole from pagans, and Jesus is based on pagan myths. Okay, and he's completely lying through his teeth. He's doing it more clever than Zeitgeist did, because Zeitgeist, he's right, had 0 sources, 0, 0, 0. He's going to take sources, twist them completely, and then build himself a backdoor so he can retreat and say, well, I tried, but I built this. Watch, we'll see.
Whatever you want, bro, your show. Let's go.
Well, there was a religious ritual that the Romans performed called the Hilaria.
The Hilaria.
Yeah, Hilaria. Hilaria.
Like Hilaria Baldwin?
It means in Latin, it means to rejoice. Hilaria, we get the word hilarious from that.
Yeah.
Hilarity. And in this festival, they during the spring equinox, so right around March 25th, they bring out an effigy of the god Attis. He's dead. Mm-hmm. They pin him onto a tree, on a pine tree, and they bury the pine tree, and they mourn for 3 days, and then they rejoice of his resurrection after 3 days. Now,
and when does this trace back to?
So there's people debate this. There's the primary sources claim so John the Lydian writes this, and then Robert Turkin wrote a book called Cults of the Roman Empire, and he says that all the evidence points to the reign of Claudius, which would be in like the 40s AD. So it's like around the same time Christianity is before the Gospels,
right?
But it's like contemporary with the rise of Christianity.
Wow.
But but just to cover myself here and just to be fair and give the nuance, there's a lot.
So he's lying through his teeth. Okay, I mean, he's not wrong that there was this thing called the Hilaria, but now it's very important that he says this. Just to cover myself here, I got to give the nuance. I've got to make sure that I cover myself because he's lying through his teeth. Okay.
The scholars who go, well, they have the actual details about like the 3 days and all that stuff comes in later sources. So some people think that they're borrowing from Christians or borrowing from each other in some way. But either way, we have sources that say the Hilaria starts with Claudius in the 40s AD. By the time you get to Marcus Aurelius, we know for sure that the festival was in full swing because he adds a day to the festival called the Day of Washing.
What's he, like 160, 170, 180?
160s, yeah. So, yeah, exactly, 161, I think.
AD.
Yeah. So this would be in the middle of the 2nd century. So now we're talking, okay, so at the very least, this cult is contemporaneous with the rise of Christianity.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I brought that up is because that's an actual example that I'm not making up from the sources. That's real. It's there. We can debate it. We can talk about who's borrowing from who, but it's real. Zeitgeist, on the other hand, is just kind of throwing out these random, Mithras had 12 disciples based on nothing. So when I do talk about Hilaria, what happens is I'll get comments going, this is Zeitgeist nonsense. And I'm like, none of this is even in Zeitgeist, but Zeitgeist was so damaging to the discourse that whenever you make any argument that's even close to what sounds like Zeitgeist, they immediately they just label it Zeitgeist.
Yeah, they can label you like they say conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
All right, so we're now going to go over the sources on the Hilaria because what's happening here. So he's on the Julian Dory show. I wasn't too familiar with this guy, but the guy's got like 1 million subs almost. So he's now just completely lied to this guy, and unless you go and check the sources, like he has covered himself. That's what makes him so deceptive. Is now that I'm confronting him on it, he could be like, well, I kind of warned you guys that we can debate about it and we can argue about who's stealing from who. But the point is, the damage is already done, and now we have to wait for the Zeitgeist effect, the Peter Joseph effect, where the guy who made Zeitgeist, it just took some time. And after, the guy became big and everyone was talking about him and wow, the documentary's amazing. And then you find out it's all a lie. He's a liar. He's just, it's not, nothing he said was true in the first 30 minutes of his what he talked about Jesus. And now we have to do the same thing with this guy. But see, when we confront him, he's going to be like, well, I warned you. I told you we could argue about the nuance, and the sources are there. We can argue about who's stealing from who, because the pagans are the ones stealing from the Christians. The Christians did not take from the pagans. The pagans are the ones who added the resurrection, all that stuff. All that stuff he said, dying for 3 days, the resurrection, rejoicing, came later. Came to fight Christians. And I'm going to prove that. So we're going to read the oldest source we have on the Hilaria, written by the pagans. Okay, we're going to read. Okay, so what happened? So we're going to talk about Attis, and this cult existed for hundreds of years before Jesus. I guess what he's talking about with Claudius, which they didn't mention, but I think that's what he should have maybe clarified, was under Claudius we know for sure that it was like a state-sponsored thing, that the Roman government was very much involved with this transgender sexual degenerate practice. Okay, so Attis, okay, a young Phrygian male, sails across the sea in a religious frenzy and arrives at a sacred grove of the goddess Sibyl. So this is like, I don't know, maybe Rhea. This may be like Gaia. This is like Mother Earth or something like this. This is a Phrygian god. It's not necessarily Greek. The Greeks adopted it. The Romans adopted it. But it comes from like near the Lydian Empire. Like, okay, Phrygia is this part of Asia Minor. Okay, so seized by divine madness, he grabs a sharp flint and castrates himself. See, chops off his penis, chops off his balls. Right, you can already see the similarities between him and Jesus, right? You can see it, right? Jesus nailed to a cross, killed by the Romans for calling out the Jews, overthrowing the money changers and trying to save us. You could see how this guy in a frenzy who chops off his penis and balls and bleeds. You can see the similarities already, right? So he chops off his penis and balls. Under the shadow of her trees, bloody but exultant, he takes up a tambourine and calls others to join him in the wild rites of the Great Mother. Oh, hey, you guys, why don't you guys come chop off your penises too? Let's celebrate the Mother Earth. Okay, let's go. Pride, let's go to gay pride. This is what the governments are pushing now, right? Transgender, chop off your bits. Go participate in gay pride. Get into a frenzy. Liberalism, right? So... leading a procession of frenzied eunuchs, worshippers, the Galli, through the forest of Mount Ida. After collapsing in exhaustion, Attis awakens with his senses restored and filled with regret over what he was done. Oh my God, did I? This is exactly what, what I feel is like the trans movement. All these people, all these transgender people that come to regret what they've done, and they can't undo what they've done. They can't, after they've chopped off pulled an Attis here, right? Because he's so similar to Jesus. After they've done that, they then regret it, right? Now let's keep going. Longing for his former life and homeland, he mourns the loss of his manhood and freedom. Sybil, enraged by his desire to leave, sends a lion to terrify him. And driving him back into eternal servitude in the goddess's forest, where he remains enslaved and mad forever. This is the oldest source we have. It's over 100 years, before the crucifixion. So maybe about 100 years before the crucifixion, no, it's before that. What am I saying? It's 100 years before the crucifixion, and that's it, right? So about 100 years before Christ, maybe it depends on when he wrote, about 100 years before Christ, there's no death, there's no resurrection. The guy is just he's just in a frenzy. He's just a eunuch, transgender forever, forced against his will now to serve Mother Earth. And this is the spirit of transgender. This is the spirit of the LGBT, the spirit of liberalism, the spirit of the West. I had a friend, when I joined the nationalist group in Quebec, in Montreal, the night that I joined, right, so we were meeting kind of like in secret on the rooftop of big apartment building right downtown Montreal. So we used to meet on this rooftop, and we were like a secret, like not a secret national, but like you could only join by word of mouth. We couldn't advertise, because we were like the Nazis, right? We were being hunted down. And one night we had an Antifa guy join us. His name was Vincent. And Vincent ended up becoming my best friend in the movement, in that group. And he joined, and he was really amazing because he told everyone openly, I'm Antifa. I got kicked out of the left because I just disagreed on a few points, and these people went crazy. They became so enraged and angry that I didn't agree with them. He's like Attis, where he's like, oh no, what have I done? I'm on the wrong side. I need to go. And Sybil's just angry. How dare you want to leave? How dare you, you don't want to do this anymore, and they want to force you. And it got so bad with Vincent, he lost his biology degree. They took his biology degree away and then they trumped up fake sexual charges against him. The guy was innocent. They destroyed this guy's life. He had to hide. He couldn't go home for over a year. He had to wait a certain amount of time because there were lawyers trying to serve him for whatever reason, for being, for hate crimes or whatever. All of our lives were made miserable in hell. But here's a guy, when he described, to the group, that he pointed one thing out it always just stuck with me. Like, he pointed just how irrational the liberal left was. And at the moment you don't do what they say, they destroy you. And then he looked at us and he said, you guys here, I just told you all I'm Antifa. I told you I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to believe in anymore. I'm just looking for answers. He says, not one of you guys attacked me. He says, if any of you guys went to an Antifa meeting and said, I'm a National Socialist, I believe in Hitler and whatever, you would be destroyed. The fact that he looked at that and pointed that out, that you guys were so welcoming, you guys didn't even care that when I told you I was Antifa, you know? And it always stuck with me that, you know, when Vincent did that. But anyways, my point was, you could see like Sybil, this Earth Mother, you could see like, what kind of goddess is this? This guy just like, worshiping her and becomes a transgender. Anyways, and the whole point of this is the oldest source we have, pagan writings. Is there a resurrection? No. This would be the authority on Attis. This is the authority. The longest, oldest story we have. No, nothing. There's no death, no resurrection, no salvation, nothing. It's just an idiot castrates himself, and now he's forced to be a slave. Okay, so John the Lydian, where the Attis stuff comes in is way after, over 400, close to 500 years after the gospel is written, that we get the resurrection and the death. Way after Christ, way after Christianity, over 500 years after Catullus wrote. Okay, so John the Lydian's writing from Constantinople between 490 and 565, way after. And he describes the Hilaria as a spring festival for Attis. Attis is fastened to a tree. The tree is buried. There is mourning for 3 days, then rejoicing on the third day as he is restored to life. This is the first explicit account of Attis resurrecting. So what it seems like, when we look at the original pagan sources where there is no death, there is no resurrection, then when we go to the Christians now writing about what the pagans are doing, what does the evidence suggest? It suggests that the pagans are stealing from Christianity, people aren't buying the Attis stuff anymore. So they have to change it around, make it more Christian. Okay, so here's just an outline. So it starts on March 15th, and then it'll finish on March 28th. And anyway, so here is just information on we don't have to cover that. But I just want to compare, let's compare the self-castrated god Attis to Christ, the scourge of the Jewish bankers and rabbis. Okay, so we've got Attis the Dickless, transgender pagan god. This is the gods of Adam Green and the gods of Gnostic Informant. Okay, these are the gods they want you to believe in. Okay, we've got Christ, the scourge of the Jews. Okay, God they want you to believe in, God they want you to reject. Remember that. Adam Green, Gnostic Informant, we got to go back to the pagan ways. We got to go back to this. Don't look at this. This is bad. Don't be a bad goy. Attis versus Christ. So let's compare Attis versus Christ, okay? So we're going to look at the origin stories. So for Attis, pagan myth rooted in transgender nature worship. That's Attis, okay? Christ, historical Messiah prophesied in scriptures, okay? Attis, the cause of death. Castrates himself in insanity, doesn't die or resurrect in pre-Christian sources, okay? Christ's cause of death. Judicial execution by corrupt Jewish government and for moral confrontation. Christ calling out the Jews for their lies, their betrayal of the Torah, betrayal of Moses, betrayal of God, enslaving the world, selling God, selling salvation, using debt to enslave the people, everything. Okay? Christ calling them out on that then gets killed by the state. Right? Same thing, guys. You can see, we'd argue who's stealing from who here, but Attis doesn't die in the pagan sources, and he doesn't resurrect because he doesn't die. Okay? Priesthood. Attis priests are castrated eunuchs called the Galli or the Galli. Dancing in ecstasy, transgender priests financed by the state. That's important. The state finances this. So by the time of Claudius, it's now state-sponsored. Christ's priests, they're apostles who preached repentance and salvation, who were executed by the state. It's kind of like what's going on today. The state is pushing Neil and Adam's religion, transgenderism. It gets worse, guys. It gets much worse when we bring in what the Greeks were actually doing. All right, let's keep going. Aftermath for Attis. Lifelong slavery and madness. Wow. Wow, that's a guy I want to worship. Christ. Resurrection, victory over death, ascension to glory, judgment in death. Motive. What's the Attis motive? Self-destruction over unrequited love and shame. That's it. That's it. Christ. Christ motive. Willing sacrifice for the sin of mankind. Guys, they're practically the same thing. Practically the same thing. We got to argue who's stealing from who here. Theology of Attis. No redemption, no justice, no salvation. Redemption for Christ. Central to forgiveness, eternal life, and truth. Cult practices for Attis. Blood ritual, self-harm, cross-dressing, and orgies. Christ. Baptism, prayer, communion, moral living. Wow. Wow. It's just, we really got to figure out who's stealing from who here, guys. We got to figure this out, you know? I want to just show you what the trick that these people do. I'm going to now prove that the Christ myth was stolen from the life of Julius Caesar. Jesus never existed, guys. He's a figment of our imagination. What actually happened was Caesar lived. There's far less evidence for Caesar than there is Christ when it comes to sources. So let's show you this. So Jesus is clearly based on Julius Caesar because both were called savior of their people. Both had a public entry into a capital city, Rome, Jerusalem. Both were betrayed by someone close to them, Brutus and Judas. Both died violently in a dramatic public spectacle. Both were deified after death. Clearly, Jesus is just a mythical retelling of Caesar. Clearly. Right? They're the same thing, guys. Absolute same thing, right? We could do the same thing with Jesus and George Floyd. You know, Jesus was called Jesus of Nazareth. George Floyd was called the Gentle Giant. They were both wrongfully arrested by the police. Christ said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." George Floyd said, "Help, I can't breathe." You know, they were both men, both persecuted. You could do the same for George Floyd. You know, both inspired revolution after their deaths. You know, you can just do the same thing, George Floyd and Jesus. So clearly, George Floyd never existed. He's just a retelling of Jesus Christ. My God. Okay, so why they need you to reject Christ and the Bible? Why? Christianity teaches God rescues slaves from corrupt rulers who exalt themselves as gods and place themselves above justice. The pagan myths are about material worship, worshiping the springtime and worshiping, oh, stuff's going to grow now, we're going to get stuff. It's about worshiping the creature, not the creator. Because in paganism, men are out for godhood. They're out for godhood. Okay? That's what all the Caesars are doing. That's why all the Caesars get deified after they die. That's why Pharaoh was God on earth. That's why the Babylonians believed they were gods on earth. Okay? The kings, okay? The word hero is rooted in Greek. It's like a demigod. When you're calling someone my hero, it's my hero, you're pretty much saying that's my god. It's a man who attains godhood is what a hero is, okay? Oh, this guy's my hero, okay? I'm not saying, okay, it's, you know, in its foundational use, that's what a god was. In Christianity, it's like, no, there was only God. In paganism, it's all about man trying to become a god. Okay, so Christ exposes and condemns religious elites who exploit the poor through usury and false righteousness. Pharisees, you're right, corrupt priesthood. This is why they don't want you believing in Christianity, guys, okay? True faith demands moral courage to stand against tyranny, hypocrisy, and systems that enslave the soul. The Bible elevates the oppressed, okay, calling believers to reject materialism and serve a transcendent just God. Christ is not a passive savior. He violently overturns the tables of corrupt bankers and rebukes those who twist religion for power. Okay? Don't worship this guy. Don't stay away from this religion, guys. You don't want anything to do with Christianity. We got to go pagan. Okay? Worship degenerate gods who lie, steal, rape, murder. Gods who reflect the worst in man, not the best. Earth worship and materialism, glorifying sex, fertility, and personal pleasure as divine pursuits. The path to Godhead is self-exaltation, not humility or justice. Pagan myths normalize corruption, making divine the very behavior that enslaves society. Okay? That enslaves societies. That's it. Go to this one, stay away from that one. That's their solution. Become a liberal. Go join LGBTQ. Go. What are you waiting for, pagans? My God. So that's it. Practically the same thing. Attis the dickless, Christ the scourge of the Jews. Which one do you guys want? The God they want you to believe in, or the God they want you to reject? This is Adam Green. This is Gnostic Informant. This is the direction they're pushing you in. Okay, I'm going to just quote the Bible here, Joshua. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose lands you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I would say the same to you. Choose this day who you will serve. Attis the dickless, Christ the scourge of the Jews. Who is it? All right. Pagan sanitization. So let's talk about this. And I came across this actually by studying Gnostic Informant and Adam Green, preparing for this. Because I've only read the philosophers like once maybe like full, like front to back, and then other times where it's just like I'm skimming through it or I need to find something. I didn't catch too many things wrong. I liked Plato, I liked reading about Socrates, I liked Herodotus, I liked all this stuff. But then I had a problem. I ran into a problem, and that was the translations weren't making sense. And then I realized the same thing we do with the Bible, how we have to go check it in Greek, check it in Hebrew, check the Aramaic, and then we catch the translations are wrong. They're purposely mistranslating the Bible. They did the same thing with the Greeks. I'm going to show you an example. So at the top you have the original Greek, and then I'm going to first quote the sanitized version. So when you read this is going to be the version on the internet. And what happened was in the Victorian era, there was a push to, I just learned all this in the last couple months. There was this push to sanitize all the Greek sources because they couldn't release them to the Christian public. There would be an outrage. If people knew what Plato actually said, Plato would not be accepted in society. It would be bad. Okay, and I'm going to show you why it would be bad. So they had to change it. They rewrote it, they retranslated it, and in some cases they just removed verses completely because they just can't have you knowing what Socrates and Plato really believed in. And let me tell you, after I learned this, I don't know if I'll never read Plato or look at Socrates the same again. I have a hard time calling these people wise people now. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I mean. Okay, so here we've got Plutarch, Eroticus, and here's just the next example I give will be much worse. Okay, but here's just an idea. Thus, the true genuine love is that of boys, for this love is disinterested and pure. Okay, I'm not sure what he's talking about here. Genuine love is that of boys. Okay, nothing crazy, I guess. And full of honor and friendship. Oh, it's about friendship and honor. It's not about anything perverted, okay? You got me, silly me. My mind was a little worried there. And the lover is content only to see the loved one and to be with him and to admire his beauty and excellence. I'm a little bit confused about what we're talking about here, but it doesn't seem too bad. Okay? The problem is, if you look at this word here, it's the word eros. Okay, this is going to be the word erotic. It's a very specific Greek form of love. It's erotic love. The Greeks have 4 ways of expressing love, and that's philios, which is this. If it was the word philios here, like the word philosophie, the love of wisdom. It's more of a, I guess you could say, a brotherly love. It's not, this is a very specific erotic love. You've got storge, which is more of like a parental love. You've got agape, which is like an unconditional, like a godly love. But when you see this word eros, it's where like aroused. Oh, that woman, turns me on. I'm aroused by that woman. It's the love I have for, I just looked at a beautiful girl. Okay, you just looked at a beautiful woman, and now like you think you're in love with her. Right? Do you know that feeling? And it's like, you're not in love with her. You don't know her. You think she's good looking. That's eros, okay? So this is what they're talking about here. It starts changing things. So now let's look at the literal translation. Let's literally translate it. It is not necessary to reject all pleasures of the flesh. What the hell? I didn't read that. Where did it say that in the other version? It wasn't talking about the pleasures of the flesh. What pleasures of the flesh? For even in the love of boys. What? Pleasures of the flesh involving little boys? These are adult men philosophers talking. There is something noble and educational. If the impulse of erotic love is with reason and directed towards virtue, what the hell is Plutarch talking about? What's going on here, guys? Because this is another specific Greek word talking about boys between the ages of about 10 and 18. Okay, 10 and 18-year-old boys. Well, don't worry, Plato's going to clarify it for us. Okay, so I've got the Greek version up here, and I highlighted this word here. Now, if you can read Russian like Cyrillic or Greek or like Cyrillic alphabet, you should be able to figure out what word this is. It's a very bad one. We talked about it earlier. Okay. So here's the sanitized version. So when you go on the internet, you go to your bookstore, this is probably going to be what you read. Okay? Not every love is noble, but only that which is noble in nature. Oh, whew, amazing. Okay, nothing creepy here, guys. There is a general love of youth, especially among boys, and seldom among women. Ugh, girls are gross. Some are attracted to the body alone. These do not love truly. True lovers must look not at age, but at the maturity of the mind. Okay, age is just a number. It's what's the soul that counts. Do you know? That sounds like a pedophile, right? Oh, she was wise beyond her years, or you don't know how he's so smart that he's an old soul trapped in a young body, therefore I can have sex with him. Now this is the sanitized version. They're not saying any of that here. It's pretty, like, you don't really know what they're talking about here. Not every love is noble, only that which is noble in nature. There's a general love of youth. Okay, well, let's pay attention to this word here. Okay, here it is, direct translation. Not all pederasty. What is noble? Not all pederasty is noble, but only that which takes place nobly. Guys, pederasty is specifically when older men have sex with little boys. That's what NAMBLA is, North American Man-Boy Love Association. Men trying to fight for their rights so that they can have sex with little boys. Okay? And now the whole meaning is going to change. They rip that right out. That is not in. Let's compare. Did they say that out? Not every love is noble. They changed the word pederasty to love. Not every love is noble. Not all pederasty is noble. So what the philosophers are saying here, not all pederasty is noble, but only that which takes place nobly. In general, the love of youth is found amongst boys. The erotic love, the eros, among boys, and hardly ever among women. Some erotically love boys simply for physical desire. These do not love nobly. Just as men observe in someone being instructed the signs of intelligence, so must the erotic lovers of boys, look not at the age, but at the reasoning, and at what point understanding is present. So it's not about age, guys. When you're having sex with little children, with young boys, it's not about their age. It's about how smart are they? How aware are they of the world? The fact that these great Greek philosophers are having a discussion on when it's okay to have sex with boys between the ages of 10 and maybe younger. I know a really smart 7-year-old. Better love him nobly. I've kind of lost all respect. And there it is, the word pederasty. Like, you cannot get around what they're talking about. They're using the word eros, they're using the word erotic love, they're using a very specific Greek word to reference boys between 10 and 18. And they're also rationalizing that it's not about age. You can probably go younger as long as the boy is smart. They're just saying don't have sex with them, little boys, only for pleasure, that there needs to be more to the love. You need to love them I don't. So this is Plato, Socrates, all these guys trying to rationalize and justify noble pederasty when it's okay to have sex with little children. And the other thing I want to point out is Gnostic Informant and Adam Green, what they're going to do for you guys is they're going to quote guys like Pythagoras, which there's not a lot of surviving, so I don't think there's any surviving sources from Pythagoras. They're going to quote guys like Pythagoras and Socrates and maybe Xenophanes, and they're going to quote a bunch of philosophers. And they're going to be like, you see, this is paganism. Socrates was killed for rejecting the Greek gods, for rejecting paganism. Okay, he might have been a pedophile. Socrates, I don't know, I don't want to get into it. But Socrates was killed by the state because he rejected the Greek gods. He was, in a sense, rejecting paganism. Okay? He was still a pederast. But he did argue that you need to love more than just the body. For me, it's all just, I've lost all respect for all of them. But my point is, Plato had to speak in allegories. Plato wasn't free to deny the gods. I think later in Plato's Republic, he does, I think, deny pederasty. He might. I think so. Okay? So, but the point is, he says that you can't run a country off pederasty. So he does later in his life, I think he does do a 180. So I'll give him that. But it doesn't change the fact that in Roman and Greek culture, this was a normal thing. In Roman culture, you were allowed to have sex with men, and you could have sex with slave boys, but it was only disgraceful if you were the catcher and not the pitcher, if you get what I mean. The man who's being penetrated was considered effeminate and degraded, but the man who does the penetrating, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's only if you're the catcher and not the pitcher. But my point is, Greek philosophers were Pythagoras, as far as we know, was killed by the pagans. His school was burnt down by the pagans. And any mathematical claims and stuff like this, the Greeks were so great and wise, understand that this stuff already existed in the East, Egypt, Babylon, in Sumeria. The Greeks revered the Egyptians. The Greeks revered even the Medo-Persians. When you read how Herodotus writes about the Persians, he writes about them in such... They're the enemies of the Greeks, and yet Herodotus is writing about them in such a good way. Xenophon wrote highly of the Persians, even though they were enemies. Do you know what I mean? The Greeks had a lot of respect for the Egyptians, and for... So anyways... Don't let them trick you into saying all these great Greek thinkers, paganism gave birth to them. Pythagoras persecuted, killed by the pagans, as far as we know. Schools burnt down. Socrates, the same thing. Okay, put to death for corrupting the youth and for impiety, rejecting pagan gods. So don't let them point at some of the great Greek minds and say, you see. That's what paganism gives birth to. No, paganism kills that. Greek philosophy, in a sense, was born to rebel against the pagan system. All right? So now we're going to look at another clip, very short clip from Adam Greenberg.
St. John Chrysostom gloated that the writings of the Greeks had been obliterated. Imagine celebrating that. I got another one too, the dark side of Christian history.
Okay, so Adam Green, pagan extraordinaire, is angry at John Chrysostom because he gloated that the writings of the Greeks have been obliterated. Do you guys want to know what John Chrysostom said? What Adam Green is so angry about? What writings? Let's quote John Chrysostom so we can just fully appreciate what Adam Green is so angry about. What madness is this to call lewdness religion? To honor adulterers as gods, for your gods are seducers of women, abductors of boys, murderers of their fathers. Zeus is an adulterer and a parricide. He, killed his father. He cast out his father, killed his father, took his wife. Okay? Zeus has a child named Persephone with his mother and then rapes his daughter, abducts her. Okay? Apollo is a murderer. He slew the children of Niobe. Aphrodite is a harlot, and they are worshipped. Oh, so Adam Green is upset that we're destroying gods who kill their fathers, have sex with their mothers. Okay, and I'll be fair, this is the Orphic tradition. There's different schools, Hesiod, Orpheus, but Orpheus was like, Plato was obviously into Orpheus. A lot of guys, the top Greeks, were into Orpheus. The Orphics were very wealthy. They were just more of an elite telling. They believed in the gods in both senses, allegorically and literally. But in their version, Zeus kills his father and turns his mother into a consort. Okay? In some sources, he has Persephone with his sister, Demeter. But in other sources, he has his Persephone with his mother. So the Orphics tell both versions. But that's what John Chrysostom is talking about. He's talking about how Zeus is an adulterer, a parasite. He cast out his father, took his wife. Okay? And the red, I don't think, is John Chrysostom. I don't think he wrote that. But then Persephone is born, who he abducts, and that's his daughter/aunt. Okay? So Apollo's a murderer, slew, okay, all that stuff. What else? Who is Ganymede? Okay? That is the young boy in all those pictures of you see Zeus kissing, right? That's the young boy that Zeus abducted to make his cupbearer. Okay? A boy whom Zeus abducted for lust, and you set this in gold upon your temples. You could see why Adam Green doesn't like John Chrysostom. You could see why John Chrysostom, the Christian, was happy that the writings of the Greeks are being destroyed. This would be like us. Remember when in Germany, when they're burning all the communist literature, they're burning all the porn, they're burning all the poisons that the Jews poisoned Germany with. They're having that big bonfire. They're burning all that stuff. Adam Green would be the communist Bolshevik. You're destroying all this great stuff. And the Christians, the guys burning it, we're the John Chrysostoms. We're the ones like, thank God, we're getting rid of this crap. We want this out of our society. It's poisoning us. So Adam Green is the Bolshevik, the liberal, angry that they're burning the this kind of literature, promoting this kind of lifestyle. Do you see? Okay, so let's keep going. Infanticide, abortion. Why then do you abuse the gift of God and fight with his laws and follow after what is a curse as if a blessing, and make the chamber of procreation a chamber for murder, and arm the women that was given for childbearing unto slaughter? For with a view of drawing more money by being agreeable and an object of longing to her lovers, even this she is not backward to do. For even if the daring deed be hers, yet the causing of it is thine, is yours. You are the cause for it. So let's just quote Strabo here. We're talking about the temples of Aphrodite. at Corinth. The temple of Aphrodite at Corinth was so rich that it owned more than 1,000 temple slaves, prostitutes, whom both men and women had dedicated to the goddess. These women are called Hieroduloi, sacred slaves. Okay, so in the Bible also portrays the Babylonians, the Canaanites, not so much the Egyptians, I don't think, but it was very normal for fertility goddesses like Aphrodite, sex, right, beauty, that there you could find at their temple worshippers of or Bacchus. You could get prostitutes. It was a form of worship, right? So that's what he's talking about. And he's talking about how the abortions, you paid for that service. You went to the temple of Aphrodite, of Venus, of Astarte, Asherah. So you go to these goddesses and that's it. The Bible records this too happening in Israel. The Jews and the Israelites also fell into this trap. Okay, so he's talking about abortion, infanticide, the unwanted children, okay, that are born from this. But he does also blame the men. So what we're doing is we're taking what God designed for procreation and we're turning it into murder. What's supposed to be bringing life is taking life, okay? And that's what John Chrysostom is against. He's against prostitution in the name of religion, and as a result, children are being killed for financial reasons, for financial gain. Adam Green is not happy. He wants this, guys. John Chrysostom is the bad guy. Effeminacy, transgenderism. See, this is where Adam Green's going to get really mad. Okay, do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, okay, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, okay, because they shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So what then is this the meaning of effeminate? Men corrupting boys or being corrupted themselves, men behaving like women, what could be more disgraceful? Okay. Transgender priest. This is not John Chrysostom. This is who is this? Firmicus Maternus. Okay, so this is later. Okay. So what is it? It's talking about the Gallies. So this is talking about the priest of Sybil and Attis. Okay. They mutilate themselves, they put on female clothing, they imitate the feminine voice, they prostitute themselves in public places, they are not ashamed of their disgrace, but boast of it as a virtue. This is the Attis cult. See, practically the same as Jesus, guys. According to Neil, according to Gnostic Informant, there's practically the same thing. The Christians are stealing from the Attis cult. So this is it, guys. This is the stuff that these guys are against. Okay, so paganism good, Christianity and John Chrysostom bad, very bad. Okay, Adam Green wants the pagan revival, bring back Zeus worship, bring back Aphrodite, bring back Attis. Oh, you got to bring back Attis. Bring back Bacchus and the Bacchanalia, guys. Let's get our freak on. The problem is, Adam, it's already here. Go join the Liberal Party. Go join the Gay Pride. What are you waiting for, man? This is your time to shine. Oh, man. All right. Torah versus Talmud. So I think now it's the last clip we're going to play. This is really long. We're talking about Jesus versus the rabbis. The New Testament is about Christ fighting against the religious Jews of the time. So Torah versus Talmud. So let's play the clip first. And then after that, we'll go through everything. And then I think that will be it. All right.
You have a video that you wanted to play and talk about?
Yeah, I want to respond to this. Do a reaction, actually, if you will, to this clip. And I have some screenshots of people who are. I'm going to show it in a second. But.
Oh, that reminds me. I got to pull something up too of the Greek. But yeah, let's show that. Is it up? Let's see. Yep.
Here we go, guys. It's a pretty known fact that the Jews are God's chosen people, that the Jewish homeland is Israel, that the Jews believe in the Old Testament, and that the Old Testament is about Jews. However, almost none of these facts are true. Nowhere in the Bible does.
Look, he just asserts this. Now that is a bold claim right there. You better be able to back this up somehow. There must be something we're all seeing that we're all missing that you see. Like, this is nonsense. You better be able to back this claim up. Watch how little he backs this up.
Does it call the Jews God's chosen people? Modern day Israel isn't really the homeland of the Jews. The Jews don't really believe in the Old Testament, and only maybe 5% of the people in the Old Testament.
Okay, that's nonsense, because the Tanakh is the Old Testament.
It's funny that I watch all these rabbi videos.
That's all they believe in. They don't believe in anything but the Old Testament.
It's the most important book, their whole identity, the history, their fake history, all of it. And then you're going to get
Now, in my defense, this is I created this cartoon video so that people come to my channel, and then I can explain. I can only explain so much in this 10 minutes and 51 seconds, right? And I do explain quite a lot in this 10 minutes and 51 seconds. So this is a video to bring you to my other videos. But so let's let them finish
up here and say they don't even believe in the Old Testament.
By the way, the Talmud is not mythology or like epics.
There is
Talmud,
some of it is. Yeah.
No, but I know there's a bunch of like stuff like that. But what I'm saying is,
I love that, guys. The Talmud is not mythology. There's no mythology. It's not what it is. And Adam's like, yeah, actually, Adam's got to correct him there. Yeah, there's a lot. There's some mythology in there. He's like, well, yeah, but I guess there is. But yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about, man.
Mostly commentary on the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly. Mm-hmm. Most of the Talmud is something commentary on something in Genesis, on something in Leviticus, on something in the Numbers. Throughout the whole Talmud, you cannot have a Talmud without the Old Testament. So you can't. You can only take the Talmud away if you're going to judge Jewish doctrine. You cannot take the Old Testament away. That's the roots of it all.
That's a very important thing he just said. You can only take the Talmud away, right? Because the Talmud is a commentary on the Torah. Okay? Therefore, you can remove the Talmud and still have Judaism. The problem is not a single rabbi in Orthodox Judaism, only the Karaite Jews would agree with him. Only one sect of Jews would agree with him in the Orthodox circles.
Because with the Torah is the first 5 books of the Tanakh, right? And then the Tanakh is the greater Old Testament altogether with Proverbs and everything. It's just completely wrong what he just said right there.
Yeah, like their favorite person in Judaism is arguably Moses, who supposedly wrote the Torah. But no, they don't believe the Old Testament. They don't even believe in Moses. And ignore the fact that whenever you watch all these rabbis all over YouTube, like me and my guys have done, they're talking about the Torah nonstop. All of their things are called Torah this, Torah that. No, actually, they don't believe in the Torah.
They don't believe it, right?
Kooky shit ever.
About? Just makes that up. And it's like, let's just keep on.
You have a video that you wanted to.
All right. Okay, so. Oh man. Okay, so now it's not, guys. It's not. It's not going to be about me versus them. It's going to be, what do the Jews say? I said that the Jews have books, more books. They don't believe in the Old Testament. Adam, Green and Gnostic Informant say yes, they do. That's all they believe in. Let's make sure we quote them. That's all they believe in. They don't believe in anything but the Old Testament. He just makes that up. Okay, the expert has spoken. They only believe in the Old Testament. They don't believe in anything else. That's what the expert says. Adam Green says it's the most important book. Their whole identity, their fake history, all of it. Then you're going to get up here and say they don't believe in it? Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I don't just say that. Jesus says that too. All right. So let's give an example. Okay? So the Torah is the highest authority in Judaism. Okay? The Torah is the highest, okay? But you cannot understand it without the Talmud. Okay? So you have the highest authority, but you can't understand it without, okay, the Talmud. So what they're saying is this book is superior, but you can't read it unless another book, okay, unless you let another book explain it for you and override it. Okay, so let's give an example. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but you are not allowed to read it directly. Imagine. You must interpret it through 2,000 years of opinions from unelected professors. If you disagree with their interpretation, you're guilty of treason. Okay? The Constitution isn't the supreme authority. The professors are. That's what happens when you add a mediator between your authority and you. Okay? Another example. Your father left you with a clear set of written instructions. Okay? You're not allowed to read them directly. You must ask the babysitter to tell you what he really meant. If you disobey the babysitter, you're disobeying your father. The babysitter is in charge, not your father. You have to trust that what the babysitter is telling you is what your father actually said. So you don't really know. And that's what the Jews have constructed with Judaism. We believe in this book. This book is the authority, but you can't read it unless you read this book. You have to read this book to read that book. All right, let me show you. Okay, the convert and the oral law. So here's a story right out of the Talmud. Okay, we're just going to quote the Talmud here. Jewish sources, that's all. And again, it happened that a certain non-Jew came before Shammai and said unto him, "Convert me on the condition that you teach me only the written Torah." Shammai scolded him and drove him away in anger. So this convert says, I want to convert to Judaism, but I only want to read the Torah, the written Torah. So this rabbi won't convert him. Get away. So he goes to another rabbi, Hillel. He came before Hillel, who converted him. On the first day, Hillel taught him Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. The next day, Hillel reversed them for him, reversed the alphabet on him. The convert said, "But yesterday you did not teach them to me that way." Hillel said to him, "You see, that is why, okay, you see that you must rely on me even for knowledge of the letters. Likewise, you must rely on me for the explanation and interpretation of the Torah." Okay? You cannot read the Torah without the Talmud. Okay? That's how it works. So, in this story, what we're going to read. So, we have Rabbi Eliezer arguing with Rabbi Yohanan. And what's going to happen here is Rabbi Eliezer states, okay, the Torah, the majority was written and the minority was oral, as it stated. Oh, this is such insanity. I wrote for him the majority of my Torah. They were considered like a foreign thing. So he's quoting one thing from the Old Testament. This is what rabbis do. They take a line from the Old Testament. I'll show you an example later. They run not 1 mile, not 2 miles, 10,000 miles. They run across the world by stretching this simple instruction to make it mean something it just doesn't mean at all. Rabbi Yohanan argues and says the majority was oral, okay, and the minority was written, as it is stated. For according to the mouth of these words have I made a covenant with you and with Israel. So now he's quoting Exodus because God used the word mouth. Therefore, this teaches according that the mouth, not written words, but oral words. This teaches that the covenant was made concerning the oral Torah. God was not talking about the written Torah when the covenant was made. He was specifically talking about the oral Torah that we have no proof ever existed until the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd century BC. Okay, this is what they're arguing about. What's more important? And anyone who says there is no Torah except this written Torah, even the written Torah is not his. So the Jews in Orthodox Judaism, anyone who says that this is the only Torah, to the Orthodox Jews, they say not even that Torah is his. Why? For according to the mouth of these words, I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Okay? Write for yourself these words. These words you may write, but you are not permitted to write what is transmitted orally. So in this discussions with the rabbis are arguing, well, which is the Torah? Well, the end debate is Rabbi Yohanan wins, and that anyone who says that they have the written Torah, just like the convert who said, I only want to learn the written Torah, well, you can't. You must rely on me to teach it to you. Okay? It's the same thing's happening here, and Yohanan wins the debate, and therefore the covenant was made with the oral Torah, not the written one. And anyone who has the written Torah but doesn't have the oral one, even that Torah is not his. Orthodox Judaism. Guys, I'm just quoting Judaism here. Remember what Adam Green and Gnostic Informant said. That is the only thing they believe in. They only believe in the Old Testament, but the Talmud says no. The Talmud says you need the oral law to tell you what the Torah says. Okay? The father's not in charge. The babysitter is. Whatever the babysitter says, that's what you do. You say, I want to read what my father said. You can't. I have to tell you what he said. You're too young and stupid. So, denying the Talmud. Okay, one who reads scripture, okay, but does not study Mishnah, this person is a boor. It's not a boor like a pig. It's like an ignorant, you're an idiot. You're the lowest of the low is what this means. Okay, so what it's saying in the actual translation is it's saying one who reads but does not repeat or review, this person is an ignoramus. Okay, and in this context, what the rabbis are talking about is reads is referring to the written law. So if you read but you do not do the oral translation, the repeats, the review, the Talmud, you are an idiot. This is right. This is out of the Talmud. I'm not telling you this. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Adam Green and Gnostic Informant. Let the Jews tell us what they believe in. Okay? All right. One who says that the oral Torah is not from heaven and denies its transmitter, okay, its transmitters, this is a sectarian, a min, okay? And one who says that the written Torah is from the Holy One, blessed is he, but its interpretation is not from God, rather from the sages themselves, okay? This is a denier of the Torah and its interpretation, and such a person has no share in the world to come. Okay? And understand something, is that when they say Torah, to the Orthodox Jew, the Torah could be oral and written. For them, they go together. When they say the Torah, you don't know. You have to ask them, which Torah do you mean? Do you mean the Talmud? Or do you mean the written Torah? Okay? In some contexts, they're the same thing. And in this context, the oral here, that's what they're talking about. Okay? Talking about people who deny the oral Torah and denies its transmitters, the guys that are passing it down. Okay? And if you deny it, you are a min, you're a sectarian, you're a heathen, you're an outcast. Okay? And you have no share in the world to come. You're going to hell, guys. So, one who says all the oral Torah is from heaven, except this one detail, this person is a heretic. You can't deny anything of the oral Torah. Okay. What's this one about? Oh, wow, this is a good one. Okay, so the Torah was given on two separate occasions. So here we have... so this rabbi is explaining to his son, what is the meaning of this which is written? And more than these, my son, be careful of making many books. There is no end. My son, be careful to fulfill the words of the sages, the Talmud, even more than the words of the Torah. Guys, this is right out of the Talmud. Be more careful to fulfill the words of the sages, the oral law, okay, the Talmud, than the words of the Torah. Which one do you have to be more careful in fulfilling? The oral law, not the written law. More important, the Torah, or the Talmud, not the Torah. For the words of the Torah include positive and negative commandments, and even with regard to the negative commandments, the violation of many of them is punishable only by lashes. Whereas with respect to the words of the sages, that which was transmitted orally, the Talmud, anyone who transgresses the words of the sages is liable to receive the death penalty. And then it's as it is stated, and whosoever breaches through a hedge, a snake shall bite him. See, this is the nonsense of the Talmud. Okay, this teaches that whoever mocks the words of the sages will be sentenced to boiling excrement. Hallelujah be Jesus. All right, guys, so the Talmud says what? Be more careful to read when you read which one. Not the Torah, how they interpret the Torah. Don't care what your father says. What did the babysitter tell you? The babysitter is more important than your father in Judaism. Okay? Now, we're going to look at one of the best stories from the Talmud. Rabbi Eliezer versus the Pharisees. Okay, it's really God versus the rabbis in the Torah. This is, if there is any story that is going to prove my point, it's going to be Rabbi Eliezer. All right, so I'm just summarizing the story. You guys can read about it yourself, but let me just summarize the story for you. Okay, so the sages were debating a case in ritual purity concerning a unique type of oven. Okay, so this oven, this is the kind of stuff that the rabbis are arguing about, a type of oven, okay? And construction from separate pieces and joined together with sand. Rabbi Eliezer declared the oven tahor, pure. This is pure. But the majority of the rabbis said it's impure. It's not this is not right. So confident in his view, Rabbi Eliezer began calling upon miracles to prove his legal position. Okay? First he said, if halakha, so if like Talmudic rabbinical law is like me, is with me, let the carob tree prove it. Okay, so the trees, okay? And immediately the tree was uprooted and flew hundreds of cubits away. Okay? So Rabbi Eliezer invokes pretty much in a sense God to help him. Let the trees prove it. Boom, the tree agrees with him. So clearly he's right. Clearly halakha is with him. The law is with him. And immediately the tree was uprooted. So the rabbis replied, we do not bring proofs from carob trees. No, we don't care that the tree uprooted itself and flew 100 cubits. We don't care about that. We're the rabbis. We're gods on earth. We don't, no thank you. Next, Rabbi Eliezer says, if halakha is like me, is with me, let the streams of the water flow backwards, right? Calling upon miracles. And the water reversed its flow. Again, the rabbis answered, we do not bring proofs from the river. So imagine that Rabbi Eliezer is like, yes, I am right. The rivers are going backwards. They're going up the mountain. They're going backwards. I am right. Surely the rabbis will agree with me now. No, we don't listen to the trees. We don't listen to the rivers. We don't listen to these things. Undeterred, Rabbi Eliezer appeals to the walls, okay, of the study hall, saying, if halakha is like me, is with me, let the walls prove it. And the walls began to collapse inward. But Rabbi Yehoshua rebuked them, saying, if Torah scholars are arguing about halakha, what right do you have to interfere? Out of respect, the walls stopped, neither falling nor standing straight. Finally, Rabbi Eliezer cried out, if halakha is with me, let heaven prove it. And a heavenly voice rang out, saying, why do you argue with Rabbi Eliezer? For halakha is always in accordance with him. God is now speaking directly to the rabbis. All right. Despite the divine voice, Rabbi Yehoshua stood up and proclaimed, listen to this, it is not in heaven. Discussion is over. Over. Mic drop. God. We don't listen to the trees. We don't listen to the rivers. We don't listen to the walls falling. We don't listen to God calling down from heaven. We don't listen to any of that stuff because it is not in heaven. And what he's doing is he's quoting, Rabbi Yehoshua here is quoting Deuteronomy 30:12, which states that the Torah is not in heaven, meaning once it was given at Sinai, it became the property of the people to be interpreted by human rabbis using logic, precedent, and majority rule, not prophecy or miracles. This is right out of the Talmud. As a result of Rabbi Eliezer's refusal to yield to the majority, the sages excommunicated him, put him in haram. Okay, they outcasted him. Okay, he remained brilliant and righteous, but his legal authority was no longer accepted, and the decision of the majority of rabbis prevailed, even though God himself sided with Eliezer. Later, Rabbi Natan encountered Elijah. See, this is like some mythology stuff here. Elijah the prophet, and asked him what God had done at that moment. You know, what did God do after this moment with Eliezer and the rabbis rejecting God, rejecting everything? God smiled and said, "My children have defeated me. My children have defeated me." So with the rabbis, do you guys understand the mentality of these Jewish rabbis? Do you understand what the Talmud is teaching? Okay. This story is considered the cornerstone of rabbinic theology, illustrating that divine law is no longer controlled by heaven, but by the human chain of rabbinic authority. Even when it overrides miracles, angels, the voice of God, it teaches that Judaism, halakha, is decided on earth, not in heaven. So you can't read the Torah without the Talmud. And the Talmud says the rabbis are gods on earth. So I've just quoted Talmud to you guys. We're just reading the Talmud. We're reading the oral law. So the great Maimonides, Rambam, says, even if they say right is left and left is right, and you think in your heart that they are mistaken, do not deviate from their words. If the rabbis tell you left is right and right is left, 2 + 2 is 5, you have to listen. You don't have a say. They are right. Doesn't matter if God says, no, what the rabbi says. And now we're going to go to the New Testament and we're going to see what Jesus says. Okay? And it is not in heaven. I want you to understand how sick these rabbis are. Because they're taking this verse, it is not in heaven. And they're saying that what God meant by it is not in heaven is that the Torah is not in heaven, it's on earth. Therefore, God has no right to judge the Torah from heaven because it is not in heaven. Okay? Now, what Deuteronomy is actually saying, for this is the commandment which I command thee this day. It is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven that thou shouldest say, who shall go up to us to heaven, or who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea that thou shouldst say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. But the word is very nigh unto you, it in your mouths and in your heart, that thou mayest do it. See that I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. What God is saying when he says that it is not in heaven, I have given it to you. It is in front of you. It's not saying only listen to the rabbis. When they say it is not in heaven, what God is saying is I have given you the Torah. You don't have to go to heaven. You don't have to go across the sea. You know my words. You know what I've instructed you. These are my instructions to you. Do what I say. Before you have life and good and evil and death. That's it. And the rabbis took this one line, "It is not in heaven," and they said, because it says it is not in heaven, therefore we don't listen to God, we don't listen to miracles, we don't listen to the prophet, we don't listen to anybody. Whatever the majority of rabbis agree on, that is the law, and if you don't do it, you're liable to death. Pay attention to the words of the sages, forget what the Torah says. Adam Green says, Gnostic Informant says, all they believe in is the Torah. What do you guys think? Do they believe in, let's go through, let's see, let's go through it more. That is all they believe in. They don't believe in anything but the Old Testament. He just makes that up. I just made all that Talmudic stuff, guys, all that stuff that the Jews believe in. I made all that stuff up, okay? It's the most important book, their whole identity, their fake history, all of it. Then you're going to get up here and say that they don't believe in it? Guys, I learned directly from 2 rabbis. I know exactly what they believe in. Okay? I know exactly what these Jews believe in. Jesus versus the rabbis. So let's talk about this. You're Jewish through your mother. See, this was my first clue that something was wrong with Judaism. Something was wrong with the Jews. And that was, if you're born of a non-Jewish mother, but you have a Jewish father, you're not Jewish. Okay? You have to convert. Okay? You could have an unbroken, line of, be descended from Orthodox Jews, and if your father has you with a non-Jewish woman, you are out of the club, gone. You have to do a conversion as if you're, a Gentile, which they convert Gentiles, they convert Aryans. A lot of, the synagogue in my town was 5 to 8% Aryans, converts. Do you know? It's not like, and they're treated the same as Jews. So let's understand that there is no law in the Torah that says you're Jewish through your mother. It says the opposite, right? What you'll get in Numbers is, take a census of the entire congregation of the children of Israel by families, by their fathers' houses. Okay, by their fathers' houses shows that tribal identity is inherited paternally. Okay, in Numbers 36, what we read is the daughters of Zelophehad are told that they must marry within their tribe, so their inheritance do not pass between tribes. Okay, this assumes that the children inherit their father's tribal identity, okay, not their mother's. In Ezra, some returning of the exiles could not prove their father's lineage, and therefore they were excluded from priestly status. They couldn't be priests. So this is the Torah. Father. Moses records everything through the father. Father, the son of this. This guy's the father of this guy. The father, the son of this, son of that, father of this. It's always paternally. Okay? In the Talmud, we get the opposite. Okay? If a child is from a Jewish mother and a non-Jewish father, the child is Jewish. Period. 100% Jewish. And the scary thing is, that child will get a Jewish name. Okay? Jewish mother, but let's say the father's name was Hans Springmeier. The child's name is going to be Jan Springmeier. But by Jewish law, he will be 100% Jewish, now walking around with a German name in public. But in synagogue, okay, when you go to synagogue and you're Jewish, and they call you up, they're not going to call him Jan Springmeier. No, they don't call you by your Roman imperial name. They call you by your Jewish name. Okay? They'll call you, when you're 8 days old and you're circumcised, you're given a Hebrew name. Okay? That's what happened, with me. Okay? My name's not technically, well, no, my name is Reuven, but that's my middle name. My Hebrew name is Reuven ben Moshe. Reuven ben Moshe, Reuben son of Moses. That's my Hebrew name. When I was in synagogue, even as a bastard, I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish because my father's Jewish, my mother's not. My mother's Irish, French-Irish, Roman Catholic. Jews don't consider me Jewish. Halakha law, the Talmud says I'm not a Jew. And unless I convert to their nonsense, I will never be one. I still have a Hebrew name. My father still gave me a Hebrew name. So I have two names, and Jews will call me. The reason I use the name Reuven on the internet is that's my Hebrew name. I did it to piss them off. I did it so they understand who I am. Only Jews call me by that name. No one else even knows I have that name. I barely knew I had that name. Okay? And this is why Hitler created Aryan laws. Because when Hitler was in Germany, when this was all going down, he was noticing, like, newspapers. Why are Germans writing such nonsense? Why are Germans playing the people and causing all these problems? What Hitler eventually realized is the men and women, the people writing in the German newspapers weren't Germans. They were Jews that inherited German names because their mothers were Jewish, their fathers were not. And so they could pass as Germans while being 100% Jewish. So the Jewish laws are parasitical. They work as a parasite where Jews can enter your society. And as your men start having children with the Jewish girls, those children being born inherit pure Aryan names but are 100% Jewish. But then, on the other hand, you could have a Jewish man who has a child with a Gentile, a non-Jewish woman, and now that child is going to be 100% Goy to the Orthodox Jews, but he's going to carry a Jewish name. Okay? So that's what happens, and that's why Hitler had to retaliate. It's not that Hitler was some racist. He's like, oh, okay, only Aryans can breed with Aryans, and that he was doing that to protect the Germans from the Jewish laws in the Talmud that state you're Jewish through your mother, not in the Torah. This is the opening. We're going to keep going with this. Takanot, hand washing. So you're going to get this blessing, right? Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us concerning the washing of hands. Okay. What the Talmud says, the Talmud codifies the ritual of hand washing before eating as rabbinical law, not Torah law. God never commanded us to wash our hands. I'm not saying you shouldn't wash your hands. I'm saying don't invent a law and say God said it when he didn't. Okay? One who eats bread without washing his hands is like one who has intercourse with a prostitute. Anyone who treats hand washing lightly will be uprooted from the world. The sages say hand washing is a fence around the law to preserve ritual purity. This commandment doesn't exist in the Torah. Okay? It was invented by the Jewish rabbis. But it's a commandment from God. And now when we come to the New Testament, let's quote Moses first. Ye shall not add unto the words which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Okay? Do not add and do not take away. Moses said, here's what I've given you. Don't add, don't take away. What is the Talmud? It does nothing but add and take away. Well, I think what Moses meant to say was, that's what the Jews are doing, okay? That's what the whole New Testament is about. So Jesus says, okay, in Mark, and the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the traditions of the elders, the Talmud? Why aren't they following the sages? But they eat bread with unwashed hands. He answered and said unto them, well, has Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. How about in vain do they worship me, teaching the doctrines and the commandments of men? For laying aside the commandment of God, you hold to your traditions of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many others such like things do you. And he said unto them, full well you reject the commandments of God, that you may keep your own traditions. It's not about hand washing. It's not about whether it's good or bad to wash your hands. The point of this story is that here in the New Testament, you have the Pharisees who have invented a law, commanded you this law, doesn't exist in the Torah. Moses never wrote it. Moses said, don't add to it. Well, we don't care what Moses says. We don't care what God says. We're the rabbis. We'll do whatever we want. Okay? We're the babysitter. Who are you? You're the child. God put us in charge. The Father put us in charge. We're the babysitter. You need us to tell you what the Father said. That's Talmudic Judaism. That's Orthodox Judaism. Okay? Here's Jesus calling them out on it. Great. Okay? So, do the Jews follow Moses or the rabbis? Question to you. Torah or Talmud? Okay? Is Jesus following or attacking Judaism? All right. Doing versus working. Okay? And it came to pass on the second Sabbath after the first that he went through the cornfield, the wheat field. Okay, corn. A lot of people are like, corn didn't exist in the Middle East. Corn just means kernel. It means grains. Okay, so they're walking through a grain field, and his disciples plucked the ears of corn, and they started eating and rubbing them in their hands. And certain of the Pharisees said unto them, why do you that which is not lawful, okay, that you do on the Sabbath day? So pretty much it's like, hey, why are you guys picking grains and eating on the Sabbath? Why are you doing that? Okay? Why are you doing that? That's against the law, against traditions. Okay? So what do we have? You shall not do any work, is what Moses commanded. Any work, labor. It has to do with making money, business. Doesn't it? You are more than allowed to go out on the Sabbath and pick grains and eat. That's what they're doing. It's very important that the apostles are taking grains so that they may eat. They're not taking grains so that they can go sell them at the market. There's a difference, okay? So it never defines work, okay? It doesn't prohibit picking grains. It doesn't forbid healing or speaking to the sick. It doesn't outlaw medical care on the Sabbath. It doesn't ban walking or talking or doing good deeds. So the Jews have, thanks to the Talmud and the wisdom of the sages, Jews are like in a prison. Orthodox Jews can't even put their shoes on the way they want to. They have to put their left or the right shoe on first, then they put the left shoe on, then they tie the right shoe, and then they can tie the left shoe. The rabbis have built an entire matrix of like a web of rules and restrictions and things you must do to be an Orthodox Jew. Okay, so what's happened here is the rabbis are like, what are you doing picking grain? And Jesus is making a point here. You invented this. We are more than allowed by the laws of Moses to pick grain, okay, and eat them. Okay, and then what Jesus does here is he's now going to quote a story from the Old Testament where, have you not read this about David, that when he himself was hungered, he went into the house of God and took the showbread, he took the priest's food, and then he did eat it. He broke the law. That food, that bread was only reserved for the priests. It doesn't really have anything to do with, the fact is, Jesus and his disciples are not breaking the Sabbath. You are more than allowed to pick grains and eat them. But now what Jesus is doing is he's picking up an example where David, the chosen king, broke the law because he needed to, and what about that, right? There's an example of an anointed guy breaking the Torah, breaking the law. Okay, and later in that same story, the verses down. Okay, and it came to pass that on the Sabbath that he entered into the synagogue and taught. And there was a man whose right hand was withered, and the scribes and Pharisees watched him, whether he would heal on the Sabbath, that he might find that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man which had the withered hand, rise up and stand forth in the midst. And he arose and stood forth. And Jesus said unto him, I will ask you one thing: is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? And looking round about upon them all, he said unto the man, stretch forth thy hand. And he did so, and his hand was restored whole as the other, and they were filled with madness and communed with one another what they might do to Jesus. So they're going absolutely crazy that Jesus healed this guy on the Sabbath. Okay? And then in John, it's recorded that if a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken. Are you angry at me because I made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath? So you can start to see that there's something wrong with the Talmudic religion that's going on in the first century. The whole New Testament is Jesus fighting the Talmud. Okay, what the Jews have done, how they've changed the laws of Moses, okay? Let me pull it up really quick. Okay. And it says in the New Testament, okay, so in Matthew 21:32, for John came unto you in the way of righteousness, that you believed him not, but the publicans and the harlots believed him. Sorry, I meant John 5:46, okay? For had you believed in Moses, then you would have believed in me, for he wrote of me. But you believe not his writings, nor shall you believe my words. That is Jesus's ministry. Jesus's ministry is literally to attack the Orthodox Jews and everything that they've created, okay? So what do the Jews have to do? This is not in the Talmud, well, per se, Babylonian Talmud, or in the Jerusalem Talmud. This is Maimonides. It is forbidden to perform any healing on the Sabbath, even it involves no prohibited labor. There's just no healing on the Sabbath. So later the rabbis outlawed this. There is just no healing on the Sabbath. And again, in the Shulchan Aruch, one who has a mere discomfort with no danger at all, it is forbidden to perform any healing for him on the Sabbath. No healing. Healing is completely off limits. If you guys don't know, the Shulchan Aruch it's almost like the Talmud. Why do Jews wear a kippah? Why do they wear a yarmulke, a skull cap, a head covering? That's not in the Talmud. The Talmud does not tell Jews to wear that. It doesn't tell the Jews. The Shulchan Aruch will tell the Jews to wear a kippah, to wear a yarmulke. The Shulchan Aruch is a very authoritative book. You can't go into a synagogue, even as a goy, even as a Gentile, without putting on a yarmulke. That's nothing to do with the Talmud. It's Shulchan Aruch. So this book, while it might not be the Talmud, it is very authoritative. Okay, tithing. This is very interesting. Here we have Jesus. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you tithe mint, dill, and cumin, and have neglected the weightier, the heavier parts, the heavier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness. Have you ever read that and go, what's Jesus talking about? What is he talking about? What is the two? Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint, dill, and cumin. What Jesus is quoting, not what would become the Talmud. We're seeing that the Talmud existed in the first century. We're seeing that Jesus is quoting what would later be codified. Okay? The written Torah commands tithing, but only the majority of agricultural products. You shall surely tithe all the increase of your seed that the field brings forth year by year. This is what the Torah says you have to tithe. Grain, wine, oil, and livestock. Okay? What's Jesus talking about? You tithe mint, dill, and cumin. Nowhere in the Torah does it command a tithe of mint, dill, cumin, or small herbs and spices. What's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. So here we have what God says, you shall tithe. Okay? In the place which ye shall choose, okay, the tithe of thy corn, thy wine, thy oil, and the firstlings of thy herds, and of all thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. Now we come to the Talmud. And in the Talmud, we now have the rabbis expanding. Okay, one who peels barley one by one and eats is exempt. So you can eat barley, but if he peels and places them in his hand, he is obligated. So now what the coriander, okay, there's more, okay, pickled stuff, jar stuff. Now all of the sudden, things that were never tithed, not commanded by Moses, things like dill and cumin and spices and stuff, those things were not tithed. You did not have to pay a tax on those things. The rabbis have now added more to Moses, and things that you never had to tithe before now have to be tithed. And Jesus is calling them out on that. Jesus is like, what? Moses never said you need to tithe these things. You guys did. And while you're calling for these tithes for things Moses never asked for, you're ignoring the other parts of the Torah, like don't add and don't take away. Do you see what's going on here? You might not have caught that, but when you read dill, that has nothing to do with that's something the rabbis, and that's Talmudic, first century oral law stuff. Do they believe in Moses? Do they believe in Moses taxing people? Swearing by the temple. Did you ever read this in the New Testament and go, what on earth is going on here? Matthew 23. Woe unto you blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools and blind. Okay? For whether, which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swears by the gifts that is upon the altar, he is guilty. You fools and blind. Okay? For which is greater, the gifts or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. Whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. What is going on? It's Talmud. You go to the Talmud to figure out what they're talking about. The Jews created a loophole. If one swears by the temple, it is not binding. But if one swears by him who dwells in the temple, it is binding. All right. So what's happening in the first century? In the Talmud, we can read that the Jews had written that if you say, I swear by the temple, if you make an oath and versus an oath in the name of God, then it's binding. You have to do it. But if you say, I swear by the temple, it is not a binding oath. You can trick someone with this. Okay? So in oral truth, that's why Jesus is quoting what the rabbis were doing at this time. You can only know this by reading the Talmud, what Jesus is talking about. Jesus is at war with the Orthodox Jews. He's at war with the Pharisees who have changed the laws of Moses. The babysitter is not reading your father's instructions correctly to you. But the babysitter said you have to ask the babysitter. You can't read what your father wrote. You got to listen to me first. And that's what's going on in this story. That's what Jesus is calling them out on. Woe unto you blind guides which say, whosoever swears by the temple, it is nothing. Go to the Talmud. If one swears by the temple, it is not binding. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. All right. Divorce. This is a very important thing. When the Pharisees come up to Jesus in Matthew 19, okay, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for any cause, for every cause? Okay, and then they go through this whole thing. The Jews are like, well, Jesus says you shouldn't even get divorced, right? Moses said the only way you can divorce your spouse is if there's adultery is committed. Okay, there's some kind of illegal form of sex that was breach of contract or something like this. That is the only cause Moses gave where we can get divorced, is like if our spouse cheats on us. And even then, it's like, it's up to you. You don't have to, you can forgive your spouse just because the law is there for you to use, and you can have your spouse put on trial for it. Like Joseph and Mary, Joseph could have had Mary stoned to death. Joseph had the law on his side. But instead, Joseph said, well, it's a young girl. I'm going to forgive her. After the baby is born, I'll quietly divorce her because she obviously cheated on me. And that's when the messenger of God came to tell him, well, actually, Joseph, you're carrying the Messiah. And what is being done in that story is something rather beautiful, that the essence of the Torah is being manifest in Joseph, where just because Joseph, Mary's obviously committed adultery, she's obviously cheated on Joseph, she's pregnant. He didn't do it. So most people would go and have her stoned to death, be like, this disgusting woman cheated on me, have her killed. She's pregnant with another man's baby. So Joseph doesn't want that. He's like, I forgive her. I'll let her have the baby, and then I'll quietly divorce her. And Mary and the baby can live. So just because the law says you get stoned to death for committing adultery, it doesn't always work like that. You can forgive the person. And that was the essence of the Torah. That was what God was trying to show us, that we can still forgive each other. None of us are perfect. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Right? So... so the Jews then ask, why is there divorce anyways then? And Jesus says, because God knows your hearts. Moses knows you. Moses put that clause there for divorce because you people are wretched and disgusting and you don't know forgiveness. You will go and do all the bad things in the world, but the second something bad is done onto you, you're going to be a hypocrite about it, right? I can do bad to others, but the moment someone does something bad to me, I gotta, that can't happen. That's literally what's wrong with the world. What's wrong with the world right now is the men and women in power have no problem doing to us what they would never want happen to them. It's the opposite of what Jesus said. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That is literally the issue with the world. Everything wrong with the world right now is that the men and women in power would never allow what they do to us happen to them. Ever. Ever. Okay? The reason I'm bringing up divorce is because during the first century, in the second century, you had an argument going between rabbis. Okay? One said you can only divorce for adultery, sexual immorality, sexual transgression. Then you have House of Hillel saying that even if she burns his food, you can divorce her. It's for any matter whatever, trivial or whatever. Okay? And then Rabbi Akiva later interprets it so that if you don't find them attractive, even. Okay, so the point is, what's going on with the Jews here, and why they're asking, is it lawful to divorce a woman for any reason? It's because Moses said one thing, but now you have all these rabbis running around throwing in the oral law, the oral Torah, giving you other reasons to, we built a loophole around it. You can get around, you can actually divorce your wife because she's not attractive anymore. You can go get a younger wife now, divorce her. Contradicting Moses. That's why these Jews are coming up to him. The Pharisees are coming up to him. They're asking Jesus a real debate that was happening in the first century. This is real Talmud. Okay? And Jesus quotes the Torah, bypasses what the rabbis are saying during that time. Because the oral law is destroying the written law. The babysitter is corrupting everything because the child has no idea what the father really said. Okay? And this also applies to traveling. Okay? In the book of Acts, when they were traveling from the Mount of Olives, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day's journey. What on earth is a Sabbath day's journey? It's nowhere in the Torah. It's nowhere in the Old Testament. Nobody knows what a Sabbath day journey is. You have to go to the Talmud. You're seeing the Jewish rabbinical influence written in the New Testament because these Jews are under the authority of the Talmud. What would become the Talmud? Okay, the oral Torah. Okay? So it's only by reading the Talmud that you're going to find out that a Sabbath day's walk is 2,000 cubits in any direction. And this is the limit that a Jew could walk on the Sabbath. And you weren't allowed to carry stuff, there's a lot of rules that apply to this. The rabbis added law upon law upon law upon law to the point where nobody knows what the hell is going on. All right? They're basing this off these two laws. If you pay attention, to how insane this is? You are more than allowed to walk on the Sabbath. You can go visit Billy and Johnny and little Susie. You can do whatever you want to do on the Sabbath. What you're not allowed to do is, let's say you're a taxi driver, and or I guess back then a donkey caravan trader or something. You can't use your donkey to move stuff from point A to point B for work. You can't be working on that day. You can't be generating an income on that day. That day is set aside for God and for your family. Nothing's stopping you from getting your hammer out and building a tree fort with your kids. That's not work. That's not what Moses meant by work. And these Jews have turned it into such a nightmare that you can't even walk. You can't even go, to the next town on the Sabbath and have dinner, because you have to do that the day before. You can't light a candle. You can't turn on your stove. That's how insane these Jewish rabbis are, and how desperately they want to control every aspect of your life. That is rabbinical Judaism. They want to control absolutely everything, when all God wanted was for you to set aside one day for him and for your wife and for your children and for your parents, your brothers and your sisters. You guys can come together. No work today. It's not about money. It's not about that stuff. That's all it was. And it got turned into this whole thing where you can't even turn on a light switch. You can't even walk. You can't start your car. You can't do anything because of how batshit crazy these Jews are. They invented a whole new religion that has nothing to do with what Moses wrote, 1,500 years before this. Is it the same religion? No. Let's talk about Corban. So this is mentioned in the New Testament, and after the hand washing, right? Jesus rebukes them for the hand washing. He says unto them, full well you reject the commandment of God, that you may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is Corban, that is to say, a gift, by whosoever you might profit by me, he shall be free. Okay, so let me just summarize what's talked. Sorry about the old English. What they're doing is honoring your mother and your father. You're making it of no effect by your tradition. So to know what Corban is, you have to go to the Talmud. Okay? So if one says to his father or mother, benefits from me is forbidden, to you as it were a Corban, then the vow stands and they can't get help. What is happening here is, as your parents get older, you are supposed to take care of them. They took care of you growing up, and now you got to honor them and take care of them as they get older. But if you don't want to do that, and you don't want to spend any of your money on that, you can declare a couple things. It's kind of like swearing an oath. I swear by the temple. Okay? What's happening here is, like, if I were to say, you could do it a couple ways. If I were to say, I swear to God, if my mother does this, I'm never going to help her again. I swore to God that if you do this, I'll never help you again. And then your mother goes and does it. Now I can never help you again. I made this swear to God. I made a promise to God that if you did this, I can't do that. And that is a binding. You can bind. Now you don't have to help your mother because I made an oath to God. So you can say also, you can dedicate your funds, your money to God and the temple, or to whatever. And when your parents come and ask for money, you can't. I've already set it aside. I've made a holy vow, and now you're on your own, mom and dad. I actually can't help you now because I've got this Corban. I've got this. Okay, so that's what's happening here. So they found a loophole around how you can get around. You don't have to help your mother and your father anymore. You don't have to honor your parents. You can bypass the laws of Moses with this other trick. That's what Corban is, and that's what Jesus is angry about, is that they've built a loophole around how you can now neglect your parents. Okay, so we've gone through the Talmud, we've gone through the New Testament. What did they say? That's all they believe in. Gnostic Informant said the only thing they believe in is the Torah, the Old Testament. did anything that I just quote, was any of that stuff Sabbath day, tithing dill and garden vegetables, Corban, was any of that washing of hands? Was any of these things? These are the teaching of the sages that are more important than the written Torah. You cannot read the written Torah without the writing of the sages. Okay, it's the most important book. Is it? What's more important? Okay, in rabbinical Judaism, is it the babysitter or your father's instructions? You have to listen to the babysitter. Babysitters, you cannot know, you cannot read what your father wrote. You cannot read those instructions. You must listen to the babysitter. Even if your father, remember the story of Eliezer, when God cried from heaven that Eliezer is correct, why do you not listen? Halakha is with him. Why do you not listen to him? Even when the father yells, the babysitter says, no, it is not in heaven. We don't listen to you, God. We make the rules. The babysitter club. We're going to tell your kids what to do. We don't care what you say. This is Talmudic Judaism. All right, I think we're going to end there. I think I just want to maybe play one more clip just so you understand Gnostic Informant. I'm going to play this next time too. This is the next section. So we just covered, I mean, it's like over 3 hours, I think, so far. So I'm going to play Gnostic Informant. Listen to his double speech. Okay? We're going to end on this.
I want to make this real quick before you, and I will show you this. My main point for bringing you on and having this conversation is I want people to know I'm not saying this is like some made up fairy tale. I think I even go farther than most critical scholars. I think it all existed. Every single character. I'll say I think there probably was a historical Moses. I'll even say parts of Deuteronomy were probably written by Moses. Most people won't say that. So I want people to know I'm not the anti-Judaism person that you think. When I want to make this real quick before you, and I will show you this.
He believes all these people, his dispute is when it was written. So he's not denying Moses. He's not denying, I guess, Abraham, the people Moses wrote about. He's saying it, I believe in all of them, he said. He didn't say, I stop at Moses. He says, I believe in all of them. I want you to listen to that. When he's talking to the rabbi, just like when he told the rabbi, it's a good thing when Judaism went to the pagans. The pagans were stopped being a bunch of sexual degenerates with Bacchae and the Bacchus and the Bacchanalia and Dionysus and all this crap. Oh, they stopped doing all that pagan stuff, and they were like, oh, this religion is so good, oy vey. He's for it. He wanted Judaism to go to the pagan world when he's talking to the rabbi. With Adam Green, he's like, these evil Jews plotted with Paul to Judaize the world. Yeshua Maccabeus. Even now, with the rabbi, I believe in it all. All these people existed. Okay? It's all there. Okay?
My main point for bringing you on and having this conversation is I want people to know I'm not saying this is like some made up fairy tale. I think
Adam Green.
Abraham has never been a Jew, nor will he ever be a Jew. And
this is true so far that Abraham's not technically a Jew. But watch how
Abraham never existed either.
Abraham never existed. But if he did, if the genealogy was right, Abraham would be pre-Jewish.
When the story was made up about Abraham, they didn't refer to him as a Judean because Judah didn't exist.
Because Judah was not a real son yet, or he never was. But in the story, I'm saying, until you get to Judah, then the kingdom. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's let him play.
Even rabbis argue about who the first Jew was. Who could they consider the first Jew? A lot of them do say it's Abraham because it's the Abrahamic covenants.
Right.
And
it might as well be because it's all made up anyway. So might as well just call it Abraham. Who cares? It's nonsense. I want to make this real quick before you, and I will show you this. My main point for bringing you on and having this conversation is I want people to know I'm not saying this is like some made up fairy tale. I think I even go farther than most critical scholars. I think it all existed. Every single character. I'll say I think there probably was a historical Moses. I'll even say parts of Deuteronomy were probably written by Moses.
All right, so I just want you guys to understand what I'm dealing with here. When he's with Adam Green, it's all a fairy tale, guys. Yeshua Maccabeus wants the Jews want to Judaize the world. We got to fight. We got to go back to paganism. These Jews corrupted you. They sent in Christianity to deceive you. It's all a Jewish trick. I want you to think about how insane what's being said here is. So what the Jews did, they created the religion of Moses. They created the Torah. Religion 1. They then created Talmudic Judaism, the oral law that fights with Moses. Religion 2. They then created Jesus, the fake character, apparently, and Paul, who are trying to fight the second invented religion. So now we have 3 invented religions. The Jews invented the Torah with Moses and the prophets. Then they invented the sages, the Talmud, a new religion that opposes Moses. Then they invented Christianity and Christ, who's trying to uphold Moses, point out that the Jews don't believe in Moses. They invented all these laws. And now they're going to take this and use it. So this is the Jews' trick. They invented 3 different religions. One religion, Torah, Talmud, they're going to fight. Christianity is going to come in, agree with the Torah, and then the Jews are going to self-sacrifice themselves. They're going to blow up their own temple. They're going to enslave themselves. All right, everybody, we're ruling the Roman Empire. We're the richest people in the world. We have the most fortified city in the world. We're badass. Let's sacrifice everything. We're going to burn down the greatest city ever built, the greatest temple in history. We're going to lose all of our money. We're going to enslave ourselves, enslave our children and our grandchildren, get over 1 million of them killed. We're going to do all that. And then we're going to go as slaves and build the Colosseum. And in 2,000 years after this, if everything goes as planned, our Christianity trick is going to eventually take over the pagan world. And then we're going to spend the next 2,000 years killing all the Christian countries, which is our trick, right? The Bolsheviks, when they took over, Russia and the Russian Empire, and they killed 20 to 30 million Christians. That's smart, right? The Jews, we've got our trick going, oy vey, and we're gonna now kill all our trick. We're gonna all this stuff that we worked so hard to brainwash them into Christianity. Let's now kill them all. Why are the Jews working so hard to destroy Christianity? It's insanity. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you guys? So we're going to stop there. But we're going to keep going. This is just, I got way more stuff to cover. This is just to whet your appetites. We're going to go through way more nonsense that these guys are pushing. It's far worse than this. Okay, so anyways, thank you guys for watching. I think I'm going to do a stream with Alfred soon. Any support you guys can send would honestly, if you want me to keep fighting, I'm not gonna lie, I need your help. Even if it's just like $2 a month. You don't have to send me $300 to Nick Fuentes show kind of stuff. I'm not asking for that. But if you guys want me to continue fighting, I'm not going to lie, I need your help. So all that stuff is in the description, as well as you can watch the full video from Adam Green, Gnostic Informant. All their stuff will be in the description, the Dyer Debate, everything we talked about, sources on the Hilaria, where you can read the oldest sources, all that stuff is here. It's all going to be in the description. All right, so we're going to continue. I want to thank you guys all. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I hope you guys are well.